Chapter 1898. 16 Beams of Astral Light, 16 Constellations. The current Qin Wenyin had opened 16 astral gates in his soul. In the past, his original body and his avatar each had 8 astral souls. Now, his astral souls could actually be stacked together. Qin Wenyin was naturally very satisfied. This meant that he had the advantages of 2 bodies and would be able to better fuse law energies, allowing him to comprehend even stronger heavenly Tao energy. Naturally, this wasn't Qin Wenyan's ultimate goal. God King Shi left behind a message for him to condense a connection with the countless constellations in the 9 heavenly layers. This was his ultimate goal, and it was clearly even more extraordinary compared to having 16 astral souls. Once he could achieve this point, he would be able to use all types of law energies in the world. There was no Tao he couldn't cultivate. As his body gradually calmed down, Qin Wenyin closed his eyes again and sensed the flow of blood in his body. 2 types of bloodline energies were seething within him. The pure white color of his bloodline had long since grown even brighter. In the past, this bloodline gave Qin Wenyin the ability to be immune to all poisons. After that, as Qin Wenyin matured, the talent contained within his bloodline also grew stronger and stronger. Let alone poisons, even if there were any types of corrosive energy or curses, they would all be purified by this bloodline. In addition, his grandfather once said that the ultimate profoundness of his bloodline could allow him to comprehend a myriad of laws. Di Tian had once sensed that this type of bloodline energy was able to aid him in comprehending the fusion of law energies in his body. It was just that because Di Tian's main focus was on sealing energy, his later few astral souls were all of the sealing attribute. Hence, the power of his bloodline wasn't fully unleashed yet. Di Tian spent the majority of his time comprehending and protecting. It was extremely rare for him to participate in combat. The other type of bloodline, the demon god bloodline of the Luotian clan, was much more violent. It churned violently in his body. Also, when he was in Qin Wenyan's body, he had already awakened his divinity-rearing talent. Right now, when his bloodline was unleashed, Qin Wenyin could summon a myriad of demons. At this moment, Qin Wenyin allowed the power of his bloodline to be unleashed, churning frenziedly. Qin Wenyan's body was like a raging tempest as a shadow of a primordial demon god appeared behind Qin Wenyin. At this instant, in the space where Qin Wenyin was at, the shadow of 10,000 demonic beasts appeared. Countless demonic beasts howled in frenzy. At this moment, Qin Wenyin could sense the existence of the constellations of demonic beasts in the 9 heavenly layers. It's clearer than before my body fused. Qin Wenyin silently mused. In the past, before his 2 bodies merged back together, Di Tian could already do this. It's just that the feeling now was even more intense and he could clearly sense the existence of the constellations in the 9 heavenly layers. In the 9 heavenly layers, there were countless constellations, and there were also countless demonic beast-attributed astral souls. Qin Wenyin started to attempt to sense and form a connection with those constellations, attempting to make them shine with astral light for his own use. This was another long and boring process. However, Qin Wenyin continued to work hard, attempting to do so. God King Shi was pursuing transcendence, an existence that could transcend the 9 heavenly layers. If he wanted to transcend, this was a step he had to complete. As long as he could take this step, his cultivation would definitely soar 1,000 miles in a single day, and he would have a huge advantage compared to the various heavenly deities of the supreme ancient immortal realms. In that case, there would be a day when he would be able to stand at the peak of the supreme ancient immortal realms, peering down at the Qin clan which was unexcelled in the supreme ancient immortal realms. The Qin clan didn't only have Qin Zheng and Qin Dangtian. Qin Ding was an existence that was as famous as his grandfather, Qin Tiangang. If he was compared to Qin Zheng, he would only be stronger. This was going to be an extremely long and arduous cultivation. Qin Wenyin had no distractions in his heart, tossing all distracting thoughts to the back of his mind as he focused on comprehending. Time flowed by unknowingly. In the blink of an eye, tens of years passed. Today, in the 9 heavenly layers, on a constellation, a handsome young man stood there, sensing the law attribute energy of this constellation. Fire attribute. Qin Wenyin didn't have an astral soul of this attribute, but at this moment, the fire attribute energy unceasingly gushed into his body. When he truly stood on the constellation, he would be able to truly comprehend this law attribute energy and would be able to absorb it whenever he wanted. Qin Wenyin waved his hands. In an instant, a terrifying fire divine formation manifested, blasting outwards, wanting to destroy everything, turning everything in the world into ashes. Evidently, he wasn't simply able to absorb the astral energy of the constellation. He could truly use it for himself. However, once he was far away from this constellation, he wouldn't be able to easily borrow its energy. Such a situation was something that Qin Wenyin had experienced many times during these years. He had also attempted it many times. It's better for me to comprehend other abilities first, Qin Wenyin mumbled. After that, he closed his eyes and in an instant, a terrifying storm of swords manifested above the constellation. This storm of swords seemed to contain the power of space-time, whistling frenziedly. Numerous resplendent swords appeared around Qin Wenyin as the entire world transformed into a space-time sword domain. One flower, one world. Qin Wenyin mumbled, thinking back to the scene he saw in the world of reincarnation. He closed his eyes and focused on comprehending. In an instant, the heavenly Tao space-time sword might condensed unceasingly as an ancient sword character appeared in the air. At this moment, white candlelight flowed. The boundless sword might seem to fuse together with the ancient sword character and was sealed within it. Back then, Senior imparted to me the ancient character incantation. Only now can I comprehend a tiny bit of it. But even so, I shouldn't be weaker compared to the ancient characters around Qin Dangtian, right? Qin Wendian mumbled to himself. As the sound of his voice faded, the ancient sword character blasted out. In an instant, the entire world transformed into a sword domain. The space-time swords traversed the void, exuding a heaven-shaking might. Such boundless energy actually erupted forth from a single ancient character. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying it was. Qin Dangtian was also proficient in the power of ancient characters. He was said to have comprehended the Tao of 10,000 laws. The light of the ancient characters around him contained heavenly Tao energy and his combat prowess was unparalleled. But now, the technique Qin Wendian comprehended was similar to him. However, there was a slight difference. What Qin Wendian comprehended was something imparted to him by the mysterious white-robed young man in the legendary place. Naturally, what Qin Wendian could do now was merely the tip of the iceberg. He was still very far away from the true meaning of one flower, one world. But he firmly believed that if he could comprehend more Daos and use this ability, at the very least, it wouldn't be any weaker compared to Qin Dangtian's ancient characters. For Qin Wenyin, other than comprehending, he would be cultivating. It was like he would never feel fatigue. Many years later, he felt that he had reached a bottleneck. Hence, he stopped his cultivation and prepared to go out for a walk to relax his mind and visit his family. It was extremely difficult for him to succeed in a single attempt. God King Shi used his entire life, but he still couldn't transcend. Now, although Qin Wendian had pointed out a bright path for him, it wasn't something that could be achieved within a short period of time. Talent, comprehension, state of mind, timing, none of these were lacking. Today, Qin Wenyin once again walked out of the heaven vault. He went to pay a visit to Chu Shen. After all, he promised Chu Shen that he would go and take a look. Since Goddess Nikhang wasn't around, there was no need for him to feel too awkward. However, Chu Shen actually mocked Qin Wenyin, causing Qin Wenyin to smile bitterly. However, it seems like Chu Shen wasn't angry because of this. He seemed to be very open-minded and was very carefree. What did the words of the world have to do with him? His state of heart was clear, there was no need for him to care. In addition, he knew that back then, Qin Wendian did it to prevent his granddaughter Nikhang from risking her life. After that, Qin Wendian returned to Azure Mystic to accompany his wife and family. The atmosphere was joyous and harmonious. Right now, the cultivation bases of Qin Wendian's family members were all different from the past. Immortals could be seen everywhere and they were also used to the fact that Qin Wendian would only return after so many years. Each of them had their own lives and were living carefreely in Azure Mystic. This place was like an otherworldly world, no one would dare to disturb them. Heaven Empyrean Qin Wenyin had unified Azure Mystic, there was no one who could challenge the authority of Heaven Empyrean City. After that, Qin Wenyin prepared to head to the Qingqing realm. After all, he was now the Qingqing realm lord. It has been many years since he went there. He truly wasn't qualified to be the Qingqing realm lord. After Yi Qianyu heard Qin Wentian's thoughts, she also wanted to head there. Qin Wenyin naturally brought her along as well. To Yi Qianyu, although the Qingqing realm was named after Mo Qingqing and Qing, it also had an extraordinary meaning to her. Qin Wenyin fought for the sake of her. In the Qingqing realm, in the Qingqing Saint Hall, other than the palace lords of the desolate Heaven Palace, Xinyuan Palace and Healan Palace, when the people of the Qingqing realm learned that Qin Wenyin has returned, all of them felt extremely emotional in their hearts. They immediately rushed to the Qingqing realm to pay their respects to Qin Wenyin. Right now, Qin Wentian's name had already circulated through the supreme ancient immortal realms. Their Qingqing realm lord was already a heavenly deity, a lofty heavenly deity character. In the Qingqing Saint Hall, Qin Wenyin received everyone. When he saw the respectful looks on everyone's faces, they were even more sincere compared to before. In fact, there was even a hint of reverence in their eyes. To them, heavenly deities were a true legend. Their young world overlord actually became a heavenly deity in just a short few hundred years. Every time they thought of this, their hearts would tremble. Realm Lord, Xinyuan is willing to follow you until death. Can Realm Lord bring me along as a servant to serve you? The Xinyuan Palace Lord bowed. His Xinyuan clan was an aristocrat clan. How arrogant were they? Yet they were willing to serve as a servant. The servants of heavenly deities were far from what the Xinyuan Palace Lord and the Xinyuan clan Lord could compare to. If they followed Qin Wenyin, would they be able to do badly? It was said that Qin Wentian's subordinates were all world overlords. Just help me protect the Xinyuan Palace well. This is my foundation in the supreme ancient immortal realms. Qin Wentian joked, clearly rejecting the Xinyuan Palace Lord. The Xinyuan Palace Lord felt a little disappointed, but he still nodded. All right, all of you can leave. Qin Wenyin waved his hands. Everyone bowed and left, but there were still people who didn't leave. These people were none other than Jialan Jiangshan from the Jialan clan and Jialan Chuyue. Jialan, is there anything else? Qin Wendian asked. Your subordinate. Jialan Jiangshan wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. Earlier, Qin Wenyan has already rejected Xinyuan Palace. Where's Di Tian? Jialan Chuyue's bright eyes stared at Qin Wenyan, but there was no fear in her heart at all. On the contrary, her beautiful eyes flickered with hidden bitterness. Qin Wenyan stared at Jialan Chuyue's gaze as he bitterly smiled. Back then, you have already seen Di Tian. Do you still need me to say more? Now, I won't hide anything from you. I am Di Tian and Di Tian is me. He is merely an avatar of mine. Right now, we have already become one. Jialan Jiangshan's body violently trembled. This secret, Jialan Chuyue had never told him before. Now that Qin Wentian said it, he finally understood some of Jialan Chuyue's attitude. So this was actually the case. Jialan Chuyue bit her lips. She still stubbornly stared at Qin Wenyan. Can I follow you? Why do you want to follow me? Qin Wendian asked. Can't I be your maid and serve you? Jialan Chuyue spoke with hidden bitterness. Qin Wenyan glanced at Jialan Jiangshan. Did you ask her to do this? Jialan Jiangshan's gaze froze. Jialan Chuyue spoke. I'm willing to do this myself. You are now a heavenly deity. Could it be that I'm not even qualified to be a maid? Qin Wenyan stared at the stubborn expression of the beauty before him as a bitter smile appeared on his face. It was the hardest to accept a beauty's kindness. He couldn't help but to think of Beauty Xiao as he felt a faint sense of sadness in his heart. Chapter 1899. Qin Wenyan felt a faint sense of guilt towards Beauty Xiao. It was the same for Jialan Chuyue. Back then, it was true that he made use of Jialan Chuyue, using the identity of Di Tian to deceive her. He remembered that back then, Jialan Chuyue often came to look for Di Tian and loved to appear before him. How could Qin Wenyan not understand her thoughts? Right now, she said that she only wanted to be a maid. Could it be that she was not worthy enough? Qin Wenyan truly didn't know how to reject her. If he did that, his heart would seem too ruthless. But so what if he brought her along? Life was still so long in the future, maybe she was just acting on impulse. Beside Qin Wenyan, Yi Qianyu smiled as she stared at Qin Wenyan. This fellow truly knew how to attract beauties. She could naturally tell that Qin Wenyan was in a difficult position and couldn't help but to speak. I'm lacking a maid by my side. Why don't you follow me? Naturally, if you regret in the future, you can just say a word and you can leave at any time. Are you willing? Upon hearing Yi Qianyu's words, Qin Wenyan started. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes also froze as she stared at Yi Qianyu. Upon seeing the smile in Yi Qianyu's eyes, her gaze flickered with stubbornness. She knew that if she said this, others might look down on her, especially when Qin Wentian's woman, Yi Qianyu, was still beside him. But even so, she still chose to say this. If she didn't say it, she would definitely regret it. Jialan Chuyue glanced at Qin Wenyan again. After that, she bit her lips and stared at Yi Qianyu with a stubborn gaze. Fine, I will follow you. Yi Qianyu naturally could sense the conflict in Jialan Chuyue's heart. But she didn't mind it and smiled. It's decided then. As she spoke, her beautiful eyes glanced at Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan smiled bitterly, but he didn't say anything. Go back and make your preparations first. We will only stay in the Qingqing realm for a few days before leaving. Qin Wenyan spoke. Jialan Jiangshan and Jialan Chuyue nodded and departed. After everyone left, Qin Wenyan stared at Yi Qianyu. Qianyu, you are really... I'm doing this for your own good. In the future, if you're willing, I'll even give you a maid to warm your room. Look at how wonderful that is. If you're not willing, I'll be the bad guy and torment her for a while. Then she'll naturally leave. Yi Qianyu giggled. Qin Wenyan bitterly smiled and was speechless. Oh yeah, those who followed you in the past didn't abandon you even after you met with misfortune. This time around, bring them along. That lion cub and Su Li, I will focus on nurturing them. Thank you, husband. Do you want me to serve you well? Yi Qianyu smiled charmingly, leaning against Qin Wenyan, causing one's heart to itch unbearably. This female vixen? After a sleepless night, the next day, the Mo clan leader, Mo Fei, and Mo Junyi came to seek an audience with him. Mo Fei had always been a follower of Di Tian, as well as Mo Junyi. At that time, Mo Junyi was the same as Jialan Chuyue, frequently coming to look for him. But this time around, Qin Wenyan truly didn't dare to bring her along. He was afraid of delaying her, hence he rejected the Mo clan. However, he would naturally repay the Mo clan for their help in the past. In the future, the Mo clan of Lifire City would definitely become one of the strongest aristocratic clans in the Qingqing realm. After the people of the Qingqing realm learned of the Realm Lord's return, countless experts gathered outside the Qingqing Saint Hall, hoping to meet with the Qingqing Realm Lord, Qin Wenyan. Right now, to the people of the Qingqing realm, Qin Wenyan was already a legendary character. His legend spread to every corner of the realm, everyone knew about him. Just think about it, a young man who rose up in the Qingqing realm, killing the lifelong Realm Lord and ascending to become a lofty heavenly deity. How could such a legend not be spread around? Qin Wenyan has long become the religion of the people of the Qingqing realm. Qin Wenyan, who was in the Qingqing Saint Hall, naturally saw the situation outside the Qingqing Saint Hall. Below the flight of stairs, there was a sea of people. It was unknown how many people had gathered here. Most probably, everyone in the entire city had rushed over here. Qin Wenyan had a bitter smile on his face. This was the influence of a heavenly deity. In a place like the Qingqing realm, the appearance of a heavenly deity was simply unimaginable. The countless people outside the Qingqing Saint Hall all had a fanatical look in their eyes. Heavenly deities were characters that only existed in legends. However, a heavenly deity actually appeared in their Qingqing realm, and it was none other than the legendary character of the Qingqing realm. He first defeated the Lifire Empyrean, and after that, he killed the lifelong Realm Lord because of a woman. This was especially so for some young men and women, all of them wanted to meet this legendary heavenly deity. This legendary heavenly deity was their idol. At this moment, in front of the Qingqing Saint Hall, a white-robed figure appeared out of nowhere, standing before the eyes of the people of the Qingqing realm. He didn't seem to exude any aura, appearing so ordinary and ordinary. However, he was also so transcendent. Just by casually standing there, he was like a unique existence in this world. Everyone was first stunned. After that, countless people cheered, "Realm Lord! Heavenly deity!" The hearts of countless people trembled. A heavenly deity appeared before them. Many people even knelt on the ground, prostrating themselves in worship. This was a living divinity, a true divinity. Although I'm a heavenly deity, I was once a mortal as well. I stood at the place where you all are and stared at the silhouette of the lifelong Realm Lord. I can still remember that back then, the lifelong Realm Lord was lofty and lofty. Even his beautiful concubines were worshipped by the people of the world. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. He stared at everyone and smiled. So, although you guys are looking up at me today, if you have the heart, maybe there will be a day in the future when you all can stand here like me, staring at a different scenery of the world. Who said that a deity is unattainable? You and I are all mortals, who would be born lofty and lofty. When everyone heard Qin Wentian's words, the atmosphere suddenly turned incomparably quiet. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. After that, countless people felt their hearts surging as their blood boiled. Just a single sentence from Qin Wentian seemed to have ignited the flames in their hearts. This was the legendary heavenly deity of their Qingqing realm. Although he stood at a very lofty position and was worshipped by the people of the world, his words were also filled with a sense of encouragement, causing people to respect him from the bottom of their hearts. You and I are all mortals, who would be born lofty and lofty. Maybe there will be a day in the future when you all can stand here like me, staring at a different scenery of the world. Who said that a deity is unattainable? If these words were spoken by other heavenly deities, they wouldn't feel anything. But these words came from the mouth of Qin Wentian. Everyone was very familiar with his history. Who didn't know that he once stared up at the lifelong Realm Lord? He was once as insignificant as a speck of dust. But now, what sort of height did he stand at? From a mortal to a heavenly deity. Qin Wentian smiled. After that, many figures appeared behind him. Yi Qianyu, the evil emperor, the little lion, Su Li, Jialan Chuyue, and the others were all here. Qin Wentian initially wanted to stay for a few days, but he didn't expect his appearance would cause such a huge commotion. It was better for him not to stay. His group of people soared into the air and directly vanished from sight. Only now did the silent space erupt with tsunami-like cheers. Even more people knelt to send Qin Wentian off. Because of a single sentence from Qin Wentian, they felt even more respect for him. Most probably, they would never be able to forget this scene in their entire lives. The legend of the Qingqing realm, heavenly deity Qin Wentian. He told the people of the world that you and I are all mortals, who would be born lofty and lofty. This sentence became the motto of countless people in the Qingqing realm, following them for their entire lives. So much so that many years later, when more legendary characters appeared in the Qingqing realm, these legendary characters would always feel gratitude towards this heavenly deity whom they had only met once before. Naturally, the faith in their hearts at that time had already become a legend of the supreme ancient immortal realms. 200 years have already passed since the opening of the Heaven Vault. However, the storm still persisted. More and more world overlords who rose up later on headed to the Heaven Vault, advancing wave after wave. To the supreme ancient immortal realms, this was especially so for heavenly deities and world overlords. Even 10,000 years wasn't long, let alone 200 years. Many of the older world overlords would enter closed-door seclusion for hundreds of years each time. It wouldn't be strange if the storm lasted for tens of thousands of years, let alone a miraculous place like the Heaven Vault, a secret realm that could connect to the 9 heavenly layers. Naturally, although 100 years wasn't a long period of time, to the experts who entered the Heaven Vault, their improvements were extremely great. Their speed could be described as flying 1,000 miles in a single day. They had truly stepped onto a constellation and could sense the heavenly Tao energy on it at a close distance. Many people comprehended their Taoists, and those world overlords who once shook the heavens and earth successively became heavenly deities. The speed of inheritances seemed to have increased. In the past, it might take 10,000 years or even longer before a new generation of inheritances could be passed down. But because of the appearance of the heaven vault, only a few hundred years passed, the later generations gradually caught up. As for the earlier generations, many of them were still stuck in the gods' extinction path. And during these 200-plus years, Qin Wenyan could no longer be mentioned in the same breath as the past. During these years, other than cultivating, he would only occasionally accompany his loved ones. Right now, many people around him like Qin, Nanfeng Yaoyue, Chongqing the Great and the others were all brought into the heaven vault by Qin Wenyan, allowing them to cultivate in the heaven vault and sense the heavenly Tao at a close distance. As for Qin and the others, Qin Wenyan would even act as their protectors and bring them up to the constellations, allowing them to comprehend the heavenly Tao and increase their strength. Everyone was improving, leaping by leaps and bounds. Qin Wenyan has already corroborated his Tao and stepped into the deity realm. He didn't wish for himself to be too lonely. He hoped that his loved ones could follow him and see the scenery at this level. But clearly, not everyone had the same level of talent as him. If one wanted to comprehend the heavenly Tao, even if they had the heaven vault, they still needed time and good fortune. It wasn't something that could be accomplished within a short period of time. Naturally, the one who improved the most during these years was none other than Qin Wenyan himself. Other than comprehending various Taoists, the number of constellations he could sense grew more and more numerous. Right now, he could gather astral energy from many constellations into his body, slowly accumulating bit by bit. He believed that there would be a day where he would undergo a transformation and complete the final step. Today, in the Qin clan, Qin Ding exited seclusion and ended his cultivation. After that, he learned that his son, daughter-in-law and grandson had all entered the heaven vault and entered the gods' extinction path. Right now, there was no news of them. He also heard that Qin Yuanfeng might still be alive. Qin Yuanfeng's son, Qin Wenyan, had appeared in the supreme ancient immortal realms. Chapter 1900. In the boundless starry space of the heaven vault, Qin Wenyan had his eyes closed in cultivation. Beams of astral light from different constellations cascaded down on him. If it was in the past, with so much astral energy, Qin Wenyan's cultivation would definitely soar by leaps and bounds. But things were different now. He was already a heavenly deity. Heavenly deities focused on comprehending the Tao. Astral energy was merely the foundation for unleashing Tao arts. Qin Wenyan's purpose wasn't to absorb astral energy unceasingly. Rather, it was to sense the constellations in the sky. It has been over 200 years. Although he had been improving unceasingly, he still hadn't succeeded. At this moment, Qin Wenyan circulated the undying scripture. His soul seemed to have left his body as numerous illusory figures walked out from his body, heading towards the boundless starry space. Boundless soul energy gushed towards the constellations in the sky. Each soul wisp occupied a different location. This scene continued for a very, very long time, until Qin Wenyan could already sense that the boundless starry space, the 9 heavenly layers, his soul energy seemed to be everywhere. Qin Wenyan used all sorts of methods, but he still couldn't comprehend anything. Right now, he was trying to use the undying scripture's ability to divide soul energy, allowing his soul to transform into countless soul wisps, heading to every corner of the starry space to sense the existence of the constellations. However, these constellations were truly endless. It was unknown how many there were. Qin Wenyan's soul shadow occupied countless locations in the starry space, but he still had no idea how long it would take before it could completely envelop the 9 heavenly layers. The current him still didn't have the ability to be like God King Shi, using his will to envelop the 9 heavenly layers. Although he had no way to envelop the constellations, as time flowed by, a boundless starry space appeared in Qin Wenyan's mind. As he stood within it, countless scenes of soul energy were transmitted to him. These scenes were extremely shocking and majestic, far more majestic compared to him standing alone in the 9 heavenly layers and staring up at the starry space. At this moment, Qin Wenyan felt how insignificant humans were, like specks of dust. However, it was this existence that was as insignificant as a speck of dust that could reach the 9 heavens and even surpass everything. In that moment, Qin Wenyan had the feeling that all of the stars in the sky were different, but at the same time, they were all the same. They were all shining with light, and no matter where Qin Wenyan's soul was, he could sense the majesty of the 9 heavens. Qin Wenyan was enlightened. In the 9 heavenly layers, there were countless constellations. In reality, all of the astral light from the constellations could be absorbed by you. However, because of the existence of constellations, humans could only see a single constellation and absorb the light from it. But why was this happening? Was it because of astral souls? However, given his current cultivation base, even if he didn't condense an astral soul, he would still be able to sense the existence of the constellations in the starry space. Since this was the case, would astral souls help stellar martial cultivators in their cultivation, or would they restrict their cultivation? Qin Wenyan's heart trembled as a bolt of inspiration flashed through his mind. In the Tiandao Sacred Academy, in the world of reincarnation, why was he able to comprehend all sorts of law attributes? Because in that place, he didn't have anything from the outside world. He didn't have any astral souls. As long as he could sense the existence of a particular law attribute, he would be able to comprehend it. If this boundless universe truly existed in a world outside the supreme ancient immortal realms, would they be able to cultivate like the people of the supreme ancient immortal realms? The world of reincarnation was created by that powerful and mysterious white-robed young man. Since one could comprehend all sorts of law attributes, why couldn't the supreme ancient immortal realms do the same? Why did God King Shi leave behind a message saying that if the astral energy from the 9 heavenly layers descended upon me, the tiny astral being would transform into his 9th astral soul? What's the meaning of the existence of the 9th astral soul? Or should I say, does it really need to exist? An extremely brazen idea suddenly appeared in Qin Wenyan's heart. He sensed the astral gate in his soul. This was a well-known rule in the cultivation world. A single astral gate could only contain a single astral soul. In that case, he wanted to see what would happen if he condensed an astral soul at the same time. Qin Wenyan drew in a deep breath. His heart was incomparably resolute. It has been so many years, but he still hasn't succeeded. He had to give it a try no matter what. Even if he failed, he wouldn't hesitate. His soul and his perception descended upon many different constellations. For stellar martial cultivators, before they condensed their astral souls, they wouldn't be restricted by the law attributes. As long as their perception could reach the 9 heavenly layers, they would be able to condense an astral soul of any law attribute. But now, his perception could reach the 9 heavenly layers. The cultivation of humans originally had no limits. Why should there be restrictions? At this moment, Qin Wenyan's heart was incomparably resolute. His boundless soul energy and perception descended upon the constellations in the 9 heavenly layers. At this moment, Qin Wenyan felt as though he was in the center of the boundless starry sky. Boundless astral light flowed towards him, entering his astral gate. When the astral light descended, it wasn't like in the past. He didn't condense an astral soul. Because this time around, Qin Wenyan wasn't attempting to condense a single astral soul. He was attempting to condense an endless amount of astral light. Boom! Qin Wenyan's astral gate trembled violently. After that, his soul trembled as well. An incomparably intense pain pierced through Qin Wenyan's soul, as though his soul was about to explode. Within the astral gate, all sorts of chaotic astral light frenziedly struggled, wanting to cause the astral gate to explode. Did he fail? Qin Wenyan silently mused. What a crazy and bold idea. Could it be that it was merely his wishful thinking? That's right, how many experts in the world, how many outstanding characters in the history of the supreme ancient immortal realms? Could it be that none of them had attempted this? However, who could break through the limits of the heavens and earth? Was this the order of the supreme ancient immortal realms? Since the ancient times until now, the existence of an unbreakable order? Qin Wendian was filled with reluctance. If his soul exploded, even if he cultivated the undying scripture, he wouldn't be able to survive. But he was truly filled with reluctance. 200 years have passed and he still failed to accomplish this. In that case, how should he continue on this path? At this moment, Qin Wendian didn't think of anything else. He only thought of God King Shi and the words his grandfather told him. His grandfather believed that Qin Wendian would be able to create history. God King Shi wanted to transcend. He didn't care about anything, even if he died, he still wanted to transcend. He wasn't willing to be bound by the 9 heavenly layers, he wanted to control the 9 heavenly layers. Although he failed, his soul transformed into the tiny astral being that contained a starry sky within. He hoped that someone in the future would be able to accomplish this. Right now, he inherited God King Shi's tiny astral being. If he wanted to surpass the 9 heavenly layers, he naturally had to do something that no one in the past had done before, something that no one dared to do. Right now, he already had an epiphany and had already reached this step. He wasn't willing to fail. Qin Wendian could firmly believe that the path he was walking on should be correct. His epiphany wouldn't be wrong. The problem now was whether he dared to take this step or not. If he took the wrong step, he might be consigned to eternal damnation. Should he continue? Qin Wendian was conflicted in his heart. God King Shi, the tiny astral being you transformed into once saved my life. If I die, I hope you can still manifest your spirit and protect a wisp of my soul from being destroyed. Qin Wendian seemed to be mumbling to himself. He chose to continue. If he wanted great fortune, he naturally had to be fearless. If he didn't dare to take that step, how could he talk about transcending? When he was young, he had already shattered his meridians and stepped on the path of cultivation. Now that he was already a heavenly deity, he clearly knew that what he did was correct. Why wouldn't he dare? Why wouldn't he dare to challenge the order of the heavens and earth? Boundless astral light from different constellations frenziedly gushed into the astral gate in Qin Wendian's sea of consciousness, where his soul was located. At this moment, Qin Wendian's astral gate seemed to contain the countless constellations in the 9 heavenly layers. Qin Wendian's soul erupted with a thunderous boom. The boundless soul energy outside the astral gate shattered as his soul trembled violently. In the depths of Qin Wendian's sea of consciousness, the heavens and earth seemed to be split apart. That incomparably terrifying energy directly caused Qin Wendian to lose consciousness. His body was still floating in the boundless starry space, like a speck of dust, so tiny and insignificant. In the 9 heavenly layers, in the boundless starry space, a body that resembled a speck of dust floated there, drifting aimlessly in the starry space. No one discovered it either. The starry space was too vast, too vast. A corpse was merely a speck of dust. This speck of dust was none other than Qin Wendian's body. He had no idea how long he had been drifting and how long he had been in slumber. Today, the floating Qin Wendian suddenly moved his fingers. He seemed to have regained a trace of consciousness. After that, his eyes opened, and they were as resplendent as the constellations in the starry space. In an instant, he straightened his body and stood stably in the boundless starry space. "I'm still alive, I'm still alive." Qin Wendian mumbled in a low voice as a smile appeared on his face. Being alive was undoubtedly a wonderful thing. His will sank into his sea of consciousness, sensing the astral door. When he sensed the changes inside, Qin Wendian was completely stunned. He stood in the starry space for a long time before a smile gradually appeared on his face. That smile was intoxicated and satisfied. He closed his eyes and slowly stretched out his arms, embracing the starry space. From today onwards, the boundless starry space, the 9 heavenly layers, the countless constellations, they are all under my control. In the starry space, Qin Wendian's voice was ethereal, reverberating in the boundless starry space. At this moment, above the heavens, beams of starlight cascaded down, landing on his body. At this instant, Qin Wendian was no longer a speck of dust. The light radiating from him was as resplendent as the constellations in the 9 heavenly layers. When the boundless astral light cascaded onto him, He was like the brightest constellation in the 9 heavenly layers. At this instant, in the boundless starry space, countless gazes involuntarily turned towards the same direction. They saw the most resplendent radiance in the 9 heavenly layers, the brightest star. Chapter 1901. Qin Wenyan was that constellation. It was just that right now, he was enveloped by boundless astral light, resembling a real constellation. No one could see his silhouette, they could only see the light radiating from him. At this moment, the final astral gate vanished. What replaced it was a boundless starry sky. In his sea of consciousness, there seemed to be a starry sky with countless constellations illuminating it. Every time a constellation's radiance landed on Qin Wenyan's body, another constellation would be lit up. After waiting for countless years, there is finally someone who can inherit my unfulfilled wish. I hope that one day, you will be able to transcend beyond the 9 heavenly layers and look at the scenery outside. From now on, there will no longer be a God King Shi in the 9 heavenly layers. A voice rang out in Qin Wenyan's mind. As the sound of his voice faded, a formless beam of light flowed into Qin Wenyan's mind. Above the 9 heavenly layers, the god's extinction path seemed to radiate an illusory fluctuation that drilled into Qin Wenyan's mind. At the same time, the scenes inside the heaven vault were also imprinted into Qin Wenyan's mind. At this moment, within the heaven vault, the statues on the 10 stone pillars turned into stone statues, never to move again. The blood sea gradually dried up. There were no longer any evil spirits within. The ancient path that connected the 9 heavenly layers was faintly discernible, as though it would vanish at any moment. Above the 9 heavenly layers, the desolate space seemed to have no end. There were even more ancient corpses floating about. Other than this, there were actually many living figures. We're out. Finally, we're out. Numerous voices rang out one after another. Those heavenly deities drew in a deep breath as their eyes flashed with the vicissitudes of life. They finally saw the 9 heavenly layers again and could sense the loneliness and desolation of this space. They were no longer trapped in a space-time maze. Qin Zheng and his group were also here. He stood there and drew in a deep breath. Has the god's extinction path vanished? Father. Qin Dangtian, who was at the side, called out. We are out. MHM. Qin Zheng nodded. He glanced at his wife beside him and held her hand. He then glanced at the heavenly deities beside him. In the god's extinction path, the Qin clan lost 2 heavenly deities. In the years after that, they were extremely cautious, but there was still a heavenly deity who almost lost his life and was heavily injured. However, he was still saved by Qin Zheng based on his overwhelming strength. It was like a nightmare, and now it had finally ended. It was not only a nightmare for Qin Zheng and the others, but also for the cultivators of the other forces. Although the number 1 fairy of the 9 heavens, the fairy of the 9 heavens, was still as beautiful as ever, she still looked a little haggard. However, this added to her beauty. There is always a way out. A heavenly deity roared in joy. Heavenly deities had also experienced despair. However, since they were still alive, they might as well just treat it as a nightmare. After the heavenly deities sighed, a question suddenly appeared in their hearts. Why did the god's extinction path suddenly vanish? Could it be that someone had discovered the secret of the god's extinction path? They glanced at the people in the surroundings. Although this space was very vast, it wasn't as vast as the god's extinction path. Inside there seemed to be a chaotic spacetime. In fact, they might not even be in the same spacetime anymore. Qin Zheng, you are still alive. The Qinkuan sect leader laughed. If you didn't die, how would I die? Qin Zheng replied. The Qinkuan sect leader laughed loudly. After that, he stepped out and flew towards the 9 heavenly layers. Sadly, after so many years, I didn't manage to discover anything. All the cultivators stepped forward and descended to the ground. They are back, they are back. The people cultivating in the 9 heavenly layers all had looks of excitement in their eyes when they saw the powerful figures flying down. The supreme ancient immortal realms lacked these people, wouldn't it be too boring? After all, these people were all heavenly deities and many of them were hegemons at the peak of their respective regions. Qin Wenyan also knew that they have exited. Just like what his grandfather has guessed, all of this was because of God King Shi's brilliance. That God's extinction path might have been formed from the boundless will of God King Shi. His will covered the 9 heavenly layers and created the God's extinction path. How terrifying was this? Even heavenly deities had no way to exit it and might even die within. Not only did Qin Wenyan know that they have exited, he could also see many people entering the heaven vault from the outside world. Everything within the heaven vault was imprinted clearly in his mind. It was like the heaven vault was already under his control. He could sense an extremely terrifying existence that resembled Qin Zheng. However, the aura he exuded was even more terrifying compared to Qin Zheng. This caused Qin Wenyan to instantly think of a person. Qin Zheng's father, an existence who stood at the same level as his grandfather back then, Qin Ding of the Qin clan. He must have learned that his descendants were trapped in the heaven vault. This was why he rushed over. This caused Qin Wenyan to frown. Although he has already taken the most crucial step, this didn't mean that his strength would soar to the point where he could contend against Qin Ding. Cultivation was never something that could be accomplished in a single step. This transformation this time would allow him to walk on a path that no one has ever walked before. However, he needed time to comprehend it. During these 200+ years, his improvement was very great, but he wasn't so arrogant to the point where he felt that he would be able to surpass the peak heavenly deities of the supreme ancient immortal realms. To heavenly deities, 200+ years was truly a very short period of time. Right now, Qin Zheng and his family came out and Qin Ding appeared. To him, this was undoubtedly a huge problem. Although he was in the boundless starry space and Qin Ding might not be able to find him, who knows if something unexpected would happen to a powerful existence like Qin Ding. In addition, he wasn't the only one in the heaven vault now. Qin and the others were also cultivating in the starry space. Luckily, the heaven vault now was already under his control. In that case, these troubles wouldn't be a problem anymore. With an intention of his will, the ancient heaven vault path that connected the 9 heavenly layers to the 9 heavenly layers gradually turned illusory, like it would vanish at any moment. At this instant, the gazes of many people on the ancient heaven vault path froze. What was going on? Qin Zheng and the other heavenly deities just arrived here when they saw the transformation of the ancient heaven vault path. They couldn't help but have strange looks in their eyes. What happened? Someone asked in a light voice. The God's extinction path is vanishing. The ancient heaven vault path is faintly discernible. Could it be that the ancient heaven vault path is going to vanish as well? Someone frowned. The ancient heaven vault path turned from bright to dark. In fact, the ancient heaven vault path would occasionally vanish as though it no longer existed. This caused their hearts to clench. Seems like the ancient heaven vault path was truly going to be severed. The ancient heaven vault pathway connected the heaven vault to the 9 heavenly layers, shortening this boundlessly long distance into a single pathway. It traversed through the starry space, and when it transformed, everyone in the starry space would be able to see it. At this moment, many people had a thought in their minds. Should they return? They didn't wish to return. During these 200 years of cultivation, their improvements were extremely great. They could be said to have undergone a transformation. There were also some world overlords who stepped into the deity realm. Nobody wanted to return. What place could be more effective than comprehending the Tao on a constellation? Not even heavenly deities wanted to return. However, if they didn't return, once the ancient heaven vault path completely vanished, they might be stuck in the starry space forever. It was unknown when they would be able to return to the supreme ancient immortal realms. Could it be that they would have to roam the boundless starry space forever? The leaders of some major powers gave the order to retreat. For a period of time, many experts followed the ancient heaven vault path, heading towards the heaven vault with reluctance in their hearts. Not only so, in the outside world, the entrance to the heaven vault was also undergoing a transformation. The entrance trembled, the crack in the sky was closing bit by bit. The hearts of many people trembled. Was the heaven vault about to close again? In history, the opening and closing of the heaven vault had always been irregular. This time around, it seemed that the time for the heaven vault to close was about to arrive. The heaven vault trembled. Many people took out their messaging crystals and contacted the elders in the heaven vault who were related to them, telling them the news that the heaven vault was about to close. Hence, this news circulated unceasingly. The experts in the 9 heavenly layers all stopped their cultivation and prepared to leave. Wenyan, the heaven vault is about to close. Where are you? Luo Shenchuan's voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. Grandfather, just focus on your cultivation. There's no need to worry about this. Qin Wentian replied. Luo Shenchuan started when he heard Qin Wentian's voice. After that, he seemed to have understood something as a faint smile appeared on his face. Hence, he closed his eyes and continued to focus on his cultivation. He felt even more at ease compared to the past. He knew that from now onwards, the heaven vault would be controlled by his grandson. Wenyan Gij, are we going to return? Bai Qing's voice rang out. After that, Qing, Nenfeng Yaoyue, Little Rascal and the others all inquired about Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan gave them the same answer. He told them to focus on their cultivation and ignore the changes in the heaven vault. Hence, everyone continued to focus on their cultivation. For those who didn't ask about the heaven vault, Qin Wentian also took the initiative to inform them. Hence, other than Qin Wentian's friends and family, the other experts in the starry space all started to leave. After Qin Ding arrived, he discovered that the heaven vault was about to close. He stared at the starry space and after that, a voice suddenly rang out in his mind. He felt slightly at ease in his heart. Qin Zheng and the others were all alive and were currently returning. Not long after, Qin Ding saw Qin Zheng and the others returning. However, 2 heavenly deities were missing. Father! Qin Zheng walked towards Qin Ding, wanting to speak. He had many things he wanted to say. In the god's extinction path, he met Qin Tiangang. The heaven vault is about to close. Let's return first. We will talk on the way. Qin Ding spoke. Qin Zheng nodded. After that, the group of them returned. Qin Dangtian turned his head and glanced at the 9 heavenly layers. His gaze was incomparably sharp, filled with reluctance. However, he still turned back and followed his grandfather, father and the others as they departed. Outside the heaven vault, in the boundless sea region, at the point where the sky and the sea connected, more and more experts walked out from the heaven vault. Everyone understood that the storm that lasted for over 200 years was finally about to end. Chapter 1902. The heaven vault trembled. The number of people in the heaven vault grew lesser and lesser. The number of experts gathered at the boundless sea region grew more and more. Those peak characters all walked out, causing countless people to stare at them in admiration. For those who walked out of the heaven vault, some of them were hegemonic characters from the supreme ancient immortal realms. That's Qin Zheng, the clan leader of the Qin clan and Heaven's son Qin Dangtian. Who is that old man in front of them? Qin clan, Qin Ding. He was once an all-powerful character. Someone's eyes gleamed with sharpness. Even Qin Ding came? Many people sighed in admiration. The 9 heavens mystical maiden has also come out. She's so beautiful, unparalleled in this world. The fairies of the 9 heavens mystical maiden palace are all so beautiful. The mysterious lady of the next generation has also stepped into the heavenly god realm. So powerful. There's actually a young man beside her. That's Lin Xiao, one of the pursuers of the mystical maiden, the successor of the Chengkuan sect leader. Now, he has also broken through to the heavenly deity realm. This time around, it seems like there are many geniuses in the heaven vault who underwent a transformation, becoming deities. Most probably, the supreme ancient immortal realms will welcome a brand new era of glory. More and more powerful characters walked out, causing the people of the world to sigh in admiration. The trembling of the heaven vault grew increasingly intense. The entrance of the heaven vault's eye, was slowly closing. It felt like it would close at any moment. Finally, when there were no more people exiting the heaven vault, a thunderous rumbling sound rang out as the heaven vault eye directly closed. The heaven vault seemed to have vanished from the world. In the airspace above the sea region, there was only the sky, there was no heaven vault. It disappeared. Many experts sighed silently. During these 200+ years, they had comprehended many things. This time around, the secrets of the heaven vault were truly unraveled. Everyone knew that the heaven vault was connected to the 9 heavenly layers. Sadly, it only lasted for 200 years. If not, the existence of the heaven vault would allow the geniuses of the supreme ancient immortal realms to cultivate even faster. In the future, more and more heavenly deities would be born. He had no idea when the next opening of the heaven vault would be. After Qin Dang Tian exited, his gaze wandered about. After that, he found the person he was looking for. With a flash of his silhouette, he flew over. Before him, a maiden as beautiful as a celestial maiden appeared. This was none other than the number 1 beauty of the heaven region, goddess Nikhang. Nikhang, have you been cultivating well during these years? Qin Dang Tian asked. After over 200 years, goddess Nichang's expression was still as calm as ever when she saw Qin Dang Tian again. She nodded lightly. Qin Ding glanced over and asked Qin Zheng, "That is the granddaughter of Chu Shen who has an engagement with Dang, right?" Anichim, Qin Zheng nodded. Recently, there are some bad rumors circulating around the supreme ancient immortal realms. Qin Ding calmly spoke. What rumor? Qin Zheng was puzzled. He was trapped in the god's extinction path and didn't know what was happening outside. Qin Ding spoke of some of the rumors about Qin Wenyan and goddess Nikhang. Qin Zheng's expression grew unsightly. To their Qin clan, this was truly a matter of losing face. Qin Dang Tian seemed to have sensed something. He turned his gaze over and spoke to goddess Nikhang. "Nikhang, my grandfather is here as well. Go and pay your respects to him." Goddess Nikhang glanced in Qin Ding's direction. After that, she followed Qin Dang Tian to Qin Ding's side and didn't say anything. Qin Ding's gaze was filled with imposingness. He stared at goddess Nikhang. "Nikhang, your grandfather and I are old friends. I'm sure you have heard of the rumors about you in the immortal realms. Back then, did Qin Wenyan do anything to you?" Goddess Nikhang turned pale when she heard Qin Ding's question. She felt a little unsightly. She inclined her head and stared at Qin Ding as she coldly replied, "No." Qin Ding stared at her eyes and nodded. "It's good that you didn't. Find a time to marry Dang. I will go and discuss this with your grandfather. Let's leave together." Everyone flashed. Qin Zheng was frowning. His wife was the same as well. Qin Wenyan, how did he leave the god's extinction path? Qin Zheng didn't understand. There was a story between Qin Wenyan and Nikhang in the outside world. That was after they entered the god's extinction path. This meant that Qin Wenyan had exited the god's extinction path. Maybe it was Qin Tiangang. Qin Ding calmly spoke. His younger brother died in the god's extinction path. Maybe he found the exit. Qin Zheng's eyes flashed. There was such a possibility. Although it was inconceivable, he didn't believe that Qin Wenyan would be able to exit the god's extinction path by himself. In the boundless sea region, the people here gradually dispersed, leaving this region. In the heaven vault, the 9 heavenly layers became extremely quiet. There was almost no human silhouette in sight. Qin Wenyan stepped out and came to the heaven vault ancient path. That path which was on the verge of dissipating became incomparably clear and stable again. There were no signs of dissipating at all. "Wenyan." Luo Shenchuan's figure flashed as he appeared beside Qin Wenyan. He asked, "Now, can you already control the heaven vault?" "Yes, grandfather. In the future, you can cultivate in peace in the heaven vault. Without my permission, no one will be able to enter." Qin Wenyan smiled. Numerous figures flew over to Qin Wenyan. These were all Qin Wenyan's family and friends who were cultivating in the starry space. When they heard Qin Wenyan's words, they didn't go out. However, they noticed that the others had all left. At this moment, they came to Qin Wenyan's side. They still didn't understand what was going on. "Wenyan Gij, why is the heaven vault ancient path stable again?" Bai Qing asked in a light voice. Qin Wenyan stretched his hand and patted Bai Qing's head. He warmly smiled. This heaven vault ancient path is already under my control. Bai Qing's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light. In that case, doesn't that mean that we can cultivate here forever? In addition, Wenyan Gij can allow whoever he wants to enter? Qin Wendian nodded. The hearts of everyone trembled, even Luo Shenchuan. He knew very well what this meant. This meant that Qin Wenyan would be able to create experts at the peak of the supreme ancient immortal realms in the future. This was simply too terrifying. For example, if Qin Wenyan allowed the people of the Luoshan clan to enter the Heaven Vault, how terrifying would the development of the Luoshan clan be in the future? Most probably, they would be able to shake off the Divine Ox clan very quickly. As long as they were given enough time, they would be able to regain their former glory. In that case, in the future, the people of the Battle Saint tribe can all come here to cultivate? Chiyu asked in shock. That's only natural. Wenyan, the people of my Namhuang clan also want to cultivate here. The Southern Phoenix matriarch smiled. Yao Yue, you have already said so. There's naturally no problem. Qin Wendian smiled. His eyes gleamed. In the future, his family, friends and followers would all be able to cultivate in the Heaven Vault. Grandfather, didn't you say that there are many people in the Luoshan clan who want to follow you? In the past, you didn't want to completely split the Luoshan clan apart. In addition, you didn't have a stable foothold in the desolate region and it wasn't convenient for you to bring too many people from the Luoshan clan with you. Now, this problem can be resolved. You can slowly contact the Luoshan clan and get those who are willing to follow you to cultivate in the Heaven Vault. I believe the Luoshan clan would definitely be able to rise up once again. Qin Wendian spoke. The Luoshan clan was his mother's clan, it was the blood and sweat of his grandfather. Also, the Luoshan clan itself was already very powerful, they naturally had to be nurtured well. But Luo Shenchuan didn't reject this time around. He nodded. With such a good cultivation environment, he naturally hoped that the people of the Luoshan clan would be able to enjoy it. After Qin Ding and the others left the Heaven Vault, they headed to Chu Shen's residence in Boundless City to discuss the marriage between goddess Nikhang and Qin Wenyan. There were some rumors saying that this matter was somewhat unhappy. Chu Shen didn't seem to want to settle the marriage so soon. No one knew what his intentions were. However, Qin Ding's attitude was unyielding and directly set the date. After that, he left the Chu residence with Qin Zheng and the others, returning to the Qin clan. Naturally, no one knew the exact details. There were only rumors saying that after the people of the Qin clan left, Chu Shen was enraged and his anger spread throughout the Chu residence. After that, goddess Nikhang never left the Chu residence again. This marriage between the two of them seemed to have a shadow cast over it. Maybe it was because of the rumors back then. After all, Qin Wendian and goddess Nikhang had already been rumored twice. Up until now, Qin Wendian still had the title of the shameless heavenly deity. After Qin Zheng returned to the Qin clan, the more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. There was something fishy about the Heaven Vault's closing. In a majestic ancient palace in the Qin clan, he frowned when he heard the news from his subordinates. After they left the Heaven Vault, they still sent people to watch over it. But even when the Heaven Vault closed, they still didn't see Qin Wenyan exiting. They also didn't see Luo Shenchuan. At that time, as long as he discovered Qin Wendian and the others, he would immediately return to capture them. However, he didn't do so. It was as though they were no longer in the Heaven Vault. He stared at the people of Azure Mystic. During these 200+ years, Qin Wenyan had returned to the Heaven Vault several times. In fact, he even brought some people away from Azure Mystic. It was unknown where they headed to. But if there were no accidents, they should be heading to the Heaven Vault. In addition, Qin Wenyan had exited the God's extinction path before. Before the Heaven Vault closed, the God's extinction path vanished. Qin Zheng kept feeling that something was wrong. This was especially so when he thought of some things in the past. That mysterious treasure Qin Yuanfeng obtained seemed to have been obtained by Qin Tiangang from the Heaven Vault. Why did they keep chasing after Qin Yuanfeng? Now, they wanted to capture Qin Wenyan alive for the same reason. In that case, could it be possible that the mysterious treasure was already passed on to Qin Wenyan by Qin Yuanfeng? As for Qin Wenyin, he unraveled the secret of the heaven vault, causing the god's extinction path to vanish and the heaven vault to close. One couldn't help but say that Qin Zheng's conjecture was the truth. But no matter what, it was still a conjecture. Qin Zheng commanded, "Get people to monitor the heaven vault's movements. Also for the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, make sure to disguise yourselves well. We don't need people who are too strong, just pretend to be people cultivating in the boundless sea." Someone received the order and left. Qin Zheng stood up, his expression was cold. If things were really like what he speculated, Qin Yuanfeng's son, Qin Wendian, might have accomplished something his father couldn't. Chapter 1903. Other than Qin Zheng, there was another person who ordered people to monitor the heaven vault. This person was none other than Yu Changkong. For over 200 years, he was trapped in the god's extinction path and improved greatly. Right now, he was at the heavenly deity realm, but after he exited the heaven vault, he actually heard rumors regarding Qin Wenyin. This meant that Qin Wenyin, who was trapped in the god's extinction path, easily exited it. After exiting the heaven vault, Yu Changkong didn't leave. He was waiting for Qin Wenyin, but he didn't manage to find him. There were only two possibilities. Either Qin Wenyin wasn't in the heaven vault or he didn't come out at all. With regards to Qin Wenyin, Yu Changkong had always viewed him as his mortal enemy. This mortal enemy was like a baleful star in his life. He also believed that Qin Wenyin had his own extraordinary aspects. Even if Qin Wenyin unraveled the secret of the heaven vault and exited the god's extinction path, Yu Changkong wouldn't feel strange at all. Because he was Qin Wenyin, the person who caused him to be consigned to eternal damnation. He hated Qin Wenyin, but he also admired this opponent of his. Just like how Qin Wenyin viewed Qin Wenyin as his mortal enemy, Yu Changkong viewed Qin Wenyin as his mortal enemy. Killing Qin Wenyin was his most intense obsession. Hence, at the location where the heaven vault was located, in the boundless sea region, the waves kept on crashing. On the surface of the sea, there was someone floating on a boat, seemingly cultivating, but his cultivation base wasn't high. This boat drifted with the waves, seemingly at ease with the situation. In the midst of the churning waves, a head suddenly appeared. This wasn't the head of a human, it was the head of a demonic beast from the sea region. Its demonic eyes glanced at the location where the heaven vault disappeared before it dove into the sea again, vanishing from sight. In the boundless sea region, the sound of the waves churning and the howling of the hurricanes rang out unceasingly. However, the airspace above the sea region was so calm. It was hard to imagine that not long ago, a storm of commotion erupted here, causing experts from the 8 regions to gather here. During these days, there was no commotion in the heaven vault. Qin Wenyin was worried that there would be people trying to pry into the secret of the heaven vault. Hence, he didn't come out and continue to cultivate in the 9 heavenly layers. He was prepared to wait until the storm subsided before he came out. He naturally understood that once news of him controlling the heaven vault leaked out, there would surely be trouble. This was a place that could attract the attention of experts from the supreme ancient immortal realms, including heavenly deities. This was the most suitable place for cultivation in the supreme ancient immortal realms. Now that this place was under his control, if the other powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms knew about this, how could they not come to snatch it away? However, Qin Wenyin had a feeling that it would be extremely difficult to hide this secret. The supreme ancient immortal realms never lacked people with ambitions. If he wanted to hide this secret forever, the only way was if he never exited the heaven vault. But even so, it was better to be more cautious. Naturally, even if he was discovered, the heaven vault was still a safe place. Other than him, no one would be able to barge in. Many days later, in the airspace above the boundless sea region, a crack appeared in the sky. After that, 2 figures walked out. They were none other than Qin Wenyin and Luo Shenchuan. The moment they stepped out, the heaven vault instantly closed. If one didn't keep a close eye on it, they wouldn't even be able to sense it. It was impossible for them to stay in the heaven vault forever. Hence, despite knowing the danger of being exposed, they still chose to come out. But for safety's sake, only Qin Wenyin and Luo Shenchuan, these two powerful heavenly deities came out. After they came out, their silhouettes flashed as they soared through the air, leaving in an extremely short period of time. There was no one in the sea region. However, at the bottom of the sea, there was a school of fish swimming about. One of the fish demons had a cold gleam in its eyes. That fish demon spat out a messaging crystal and sent his demon sense into it, as though he was transmitting a message. Abruptly, a terrifying heavenly might descended, causing the fish demon to be greatly shocked. The sea roared and churned frenziedly, the seawater flowed in reverse, shooting up into the sky. A white-robed figure stood in the air. This was a true heavenly deity. His countenance was ice-cold, he waved his hand and in an instant, the entire sea region was shredded into pieces. Many schools of fish in this area were directly annihilated as blood dyed this part of the sea red. However, as the waves continued to wash away the blood, it gradually faded away. I didn't see anyone on the surface of the sea. I didn't expect someone to be in the sea. Luo Shenchuan walked over. So it turned out that the person who acted was none other than Qin Wenyan, who had returned. Seems like this secret can no longer be hidden. Qin Wenyan spoke in a light voice. Although he was long prepared in his heart and didn't feel that he could hide this forever, he didn't expect things to happen so quickly. After the commotion of the Heaven Vault ended, the Heaven Vault was already targeted by someone. This was truly unexpected. He had no idea who this person was. Could it be the Qin clan? Most probably he would know very soon. Grandfather, let's go. Qin Wenyan spoke. The two of them arrived at Boundless City. Qin Wenyan spoke to Luo Shenchuan. Grandfather, you have to be careful in this trip to the desolate region. If the Qin clan is targeting you, I'm afraid other than me, they would also have their eyes on you. I know. You have to be careful too. Luo Shenchuan nodded as he instructed. Don't worry, grandfather. Right now, I still have the ability to protect myself. Qin Wenyan confidently spoke. Luo Shenchuan nodded. After cultivating for over 200 years, the current Qin Wenyan was no longer the same as before. Right now, his grandson was already a truly powerful heavenly deity. The two of them parted in Boundless City. After all, the destination of this trip was different. Luo Shenchuan directly sped away while Qin Wenyan entered Boundless City. He wanted to pay a visit to Chu Shen. Firstly, it was out of courtesy. After all, Chu Mo and Nikhang had shown him grace before. Secondly, he wanted to know if Qin Zheng had mentioned marriage to Chu Shen. Although he told Chu Shen about his father's attitude, it was still too difficult for him to reject the Qin clan. The Qin clan was one of the hegemonic powers in the Heaven region. After arriving at the Chu residence, the atmosphere was somewhat quiet. Qin Wenyan went to look for Chu Shen. Upon seeing Qin Wenyan, a smile appeared on Chu Shen's face. Grandpa Chu. Qin Wenyan called out. Wenyan, thank you. Chu Shen nodded lightly. If Qin Zheng or Qin Dang Tian could be as respectful to him as Qin Wenyan was, he wouldn't have anything to say. Nikhang, Wenyan is here. Why aren't you coming out to greet him? Chu Shen called out. A moment later, goddess Nikhang appeared. She was as beautiful as ever, but there was a hint of cold in her eyes when she stared at Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan could only smile bitterly. There's no need to trouble Nikhang. I'm only here to greet Grandpa Chu. I will leave after that. Qin Wenyan shifted his gaze away and smiled. Since you are here, why don't you take a seat? I'll get someone to prepare a banquet. Chu Shen spoke. Just in time, you can accompany me for a chat. The new waves of the river will surpass the old. I didn't expect you to be so young, yet you have already reached the heavenly deity realm. The younger generations will truly surpass us in time. Qin Wenyan was helpless and could only agree to stay behind. The banquet was soon prepared. Goddess Nikhang accompanied Chu Shen, but she didn't say anything. Qin Wenyan and Chu Shen were the only ones chatting. As they chatted, the topic shifted to the Heaven Vault and the Qin clan. Chu Shen's expression also grew colder. Qin Wenyan could sense Chu Shen's attitude and felt somewhat strange. He then heard Chu Shen saying, after the Heaven Vault ended, Qin Ding and Qin Zheng came here. Imichem? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Could it be that Chu Shen's coldness had something to do with this? Qin Ding actually made a trip here personally. Back then, there were some rumors about you and Nikhang. I actually hoped that the Qin clan would take the initiative to annul the marriage. If that's the case, although I would lose face, at the very least, I would be able to answer to Nichang's father. However, Qin Ding first asked Nikhang if you did anything to her. After she denied it, Qin Ding directly wanted to set a date. I initially wanted to drag things out, but Qin Ding's attitude was extremely unyielding. Although we are old acquaintances, our statuses are now different. Qin Ding no longer has any face left. Chu Shen calmly spoke. Qin Wenyan sighed in his heart. Maybe this was the reality of the cultivation world. He turned his gaze to Goddess Nikhang. Upon hearing about her marriage, Goddess Nikhang lowered her head slightly. What is Nikhang thinking in her heart exactly? Is she willing or not? Qin Wenyan asked. It was unknown if he was asking Chu Shen or Goddess Nikhang. If Goddess Nikhang was willing, he would have nothing to say. Although, he really didn't wish for his benefactor to marry his enemy. Nikhang, Wenyan isn't an outsider. Why don't you tell Grandpa your thoughts? Chu Shen spoke to Goddess Nikhang. Not an outsider? Qin Wenyan felt warmth in his heart. Chu Shen really treated him like a junior. Goddess Nikhang inclined her head. Her beautiful and flawless eyes glanced at Chu Shen before turning to Qin Wenyan. Her expression was as cold as ever. No one could tell what she was thinking in her heart. I don't have any thoughts. Goddess Nikhang stood up. She actually didn't say anything and turned to leave just like that. This caused Qin Wenyan to start. Upon seeing this scene, Chu Shen's eyes flashed. He spoke in a light voice. I most probably already know what this lass is thinking. Grandpa Chu, what do you think? Qin Wenyan asked. She doesn't want to, Chu Shen said calmly. Qin Wenyan's eyes flickered. It's just that given the current strength of the Qin clan, even if they are unwilling. Qin Ding sighed in his heart, hating himself for being useless. It was one thing that his strength was inferior to Qin Ding's, but he was also injured. Now that he had promised the Qin clan, it wouldn't be so easy for him to go back on his words. Ni Shang clearly understood this as well. So, even if she wasn't willing, she wouldn't say it out loud, because she would consider this useless old man. Qin Wenyan left the Chu residence with a heavy heart. Chu Mo had asked him to pass a message to Qin Wenyan, but was he unable to stop some things from happening? After leaving, he naturally prepared to return to Qin Xian. Just when he returned to Azure Mystic, a piece of news suddenly circulated around the supreme ancient immortal realms. The Heaven Vault wasn't truly closed. It was because the secrets of the Heaven Vault had been unraveled by someone. The Heaven Vault was controlled by someone and was artificially closed. A single stone caused 1,000 ripples. The supreme ancient immortal realms were shaken once more. The Heaven Vault. How could the hegemonic powers of the supreme ancient immortal realms forget about such a sacred cultivation ground? Right now, news circulated out that the Heaven Vault was actually controlled by someone. A formless storm was brewing. Chapter 1904. The strange thing was that this news didn't originate from the Heaven region, it originated from the Mystic region instead. After that, the person controlling the Heaven Vault was also revealed. It was none other than the shameless and lecherous heavenly deity of the supreme ancient immortal realms, Qin Wenyan. The news said that once, many hegemonic characters of the supreme ancient immortal realms, including the Qin clan leader, Qianquan sect leader, 9 Heavens mystical maiden, all entered the god's extinction path at the end of the Heaven Vault. No one was able to exit. There was only one exception, and that was none other than Qin Wenyan. He brought his maternal grandfather, Luo Shenchuan, out of the god's extinction path safely. After that, the god's extinction path vanished, allowing everyone to escape. There was also news that many days after the Heaven Vault closed, there were people who personally saw Qin Wenyan exiting the Heaven Vault. In the supreme ancient immortal realms, many people believed this news, including those hegemonic characters, because they had entered the god's extinction path before. If it wasn't for the fact that they knew the secret of the god's extinction path, they would definitely have no hope of exiting. Hence, The originally calm heaven vault was once again stirred. Many experts from the 8 regions rushed to Boundless City. Their target was still the heaven vault. Outside the heaven vault, experts were as common as clouds. Although it wasn't as grand as before, many of these people were from the hegemonic powers of the 8 regions. They wanted to meet with Qin Wenyan. If the rumors were true, they wanted Qin Wenyan to open the heaven vault and allow them to enter it for cultivation. At this moment, Qin Wenyan had already returned to the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. He was preparing to bring his friends and family to the heaven vault for cultivation. Being close to the constellations was undoubtedly the most suitable place for stellar martial cultivators to comprehend insights. Although he returned to Azure Mystic, he soon received news from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. As expected, this news circulated. This was also within his expectations. Many people transmitted their voices to Qin Wenyan, including some experts from the Tiandao Sacred Academy. However, this was fine as well. Since the news had already circulated, he was more at ease and didn't hide anything. He directly told those who transmitted their voices to him that the heaven vault was indeed under his control now. This news circulated like wildfire. For a period of time, the entire Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms was shaken. More and more experts gathered towards the heaven vault. So it turned out that everyone in the world was deceived by Qin Wenyan. The heaven vault didn't automatically close but was controlled by someone. The name of Qin Wenyan once again swept across the celestial realm, and this time he was even more famous. After that, more news circulated out. Back then in the world of reincarnation in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, the person who entered the legendary place was none other than Qin Wenyan. He was the true heaven's son and was even more outstanding compared to Qin Dangtian. He would definitely take revenge on the Qin clan. Qin Dangtian, the so-called heaven's son, was nothing but a joke. Even his women were played by others before. This news was somewhat malicious, insulting the Qin clan. At the same time, many experts in the Qin clan and the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms started to feel trepidation towards Qin Wenyan, the son of the traitor Qin Yuanfeng and the Luotian clan's goddess, Luotian Qianxue. Now, he became a deity, controlled the heaven vault, abducted goddess Nikhang, and entered the legendary place of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. All of these things truly made the people of the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms feel that a supreme character was silently rising up. In addition, he had already reached a sufficiently high level. Everything seemed somewhat baffling, but such a character suddenly appeared. The Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms started to take a name seriously. Qin Wenyan was no longer a young man of the younger generations. He was a heavenly deity who controlled the heaven vault. It was said that he had only cultivated for roughly 1,000 years or so. His future was something no one could imagine. In the Supreme Ancient Universe region, in the Pure Land of Bliss, in a sacred ground of the Buddhist sect, an esteemed monk pressed his palms together and faced the west. 7 abstinences. At this moment, a voice rang out. Behind the esteemed monk, the shadow of a Buddha appeared, radiating resplendent light. Reverend 7 abstinences pressed his palms together and bowed to the ancient Buddha. A storm is brewing in the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. Go and enter the world. The ancient Buddha's voice rang out. 7 abstinences nodded. After that, he turned and descended the mountain, staring into the distance. Back then, all the geniuses entered the world of reincarnation. However, the person who entered the legendary place wasn't him. Right now, that person had already caused a huge commotion in the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. In the Che clan, golden light filled the sky. As the #1 weaponsmithing aristocrat clan in the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms, the Che clan was like a gigantic golden world, incomparably resplendent. It was like a divine formation, radiating boundless light that seemed capable of unleashing world-shaking might at any moment. Within the Che clan, Che Ying stood before a majestic ancient palace. Right now, he has already become a deity, stepping into the divine Tao in the heaven vault. However, there was news that the young man who almost died in the world of reincarnation back then was none other than the person who entered the legendary place. In addition, he even obtained the heaven vault. He decided to set off once again, heading to the heaven region. And in the heaven region, in the Chenkuan sect, Lin Xiao stared into the distance as he thought back to the crazed young man. He didn't expect that it would actually be him. Also, he even controlled the heaven vault. How interesting. Desolate region, Divine Ox Castle. Recently, the Ox chieftain of the Divine Ox clan was frequently angered. Recently, there were many rumors regarding Qin Wenyan. Some people guessed that Devil Ox of his Divine Ox clan died in Qin Wentian's hands. The battle Saint Bone has long fallen into Qin Wentian's hands. And now, Qin Wenyan controlled the heaven vault and even became a deity. Also in the desolate region, in the demon god mountain, the 5 sovereigns gathered together. Luo Shenchuan was present as well. The Kuan sovereign spoke in a somewhat depressed manner. That brat has no conscience. I taught him for so many years, but he didn't even tell me this secret. He actually hid in the heaven vault to cultivate and didn't tell me even when I called him back. Kuan sovereign, you should know that little rascal has been following my grandson since he was young. The relationship between them is extremely deep. You should know what would happen if this secret is exposed. You have already seen the situation now. The supreme ancient immortal realms are in an uproar. It's normal for little rascal to temporarily hide this from you. Luo Shenchuan spoke. No conscience, we nurtured him for nothing. The Kuan sovereign spoke in anger. Luo Shenchuan, the Luoshan clan is an ally of our demon god mountain. What is Qin Wentian's attitude towards the heaven vault? Can our demon god mountain enter there to cultivate? Who didn't want to enter the heaven vault? The demon god mountain's relationship with Luo Shenchuan and Qin Wenyan wasn't bad. This was their advantage. Now that the secret has been exposed, that fellow Qin Wenyan wouldn't hide anything, right? If Qin Wenyan didn't agree, there would be no meaning for their alliance to exist anymore. I have to seek Wentian's opinion on this. Luo Shenchuan spoke. The Kuan sovereign nodded. The eyes of the 5 sovereigns were filled with anticipation. If their demon god mountain could enter the heaven vault to cultivate, they would definitely have a huge advantage in cultivation. In the future, it wouldn't be impossible for the demon god mountain to produce 10 demon sovereigns. The experts of the various powers all had different thoughts. But there was one point that was indisputable. Qin Wentian's fame had already spread through the supreme ancient immortal realms. With so many experts blocking the entrance of the heaven vault, Qin Wenyan naturally wouldn't show himself so easily. He wanted to see how long these people could guard the heaven vault for. Even if he wasn't in the heaven vault, he could still cultivate there. In fact, no one knew that Qin Wenyan had already been to the Boundless Sea region before. It was just that because he disguised his identity, no one could recognize him. As time flowed by, the number of people in the Boundless Sea region decreased by a lot. This was especially so for some powerful heavenly deities. It was impossible for them to stay here forever and wait for Qin Wenyan to appear. After Qin Wenyan learned of this, he would definitely not show himself so easily. Today, some experts appeared in the Boundless Sea region. They split up into groups and came to the area below the heaven vault, mixing into the crowd. Although the number of people in the Boundless Sea region was much lesser compared to before, there were still quite a few of them. It wasn't conspicuous for these groups of people to mix in with the crowd. This was especially so since their cultivation bases weren't high. These people were none other than people from Azure Mystic. After so many years, Qin Wenyan saw that the number of experts in the heaven vault was much lesser than before. This was why he silently brought them here. Among these people, there were experts from the Battle Saint tribe, Namhuang clan and myriad Devil Islands. Naturally, not everyone was here, only those with higher cultivation bases. Qin Wenyan didn't intend to bring everyone here at the same time. If he did that, the commotion would be too great. These people gradually gathered together. After that, a powerful spatial tempest enveloped them. Emichim? Many people frowned as they turned their gazes over. After that, they saw the entire sea region being enveloped by the spatial tempest, instantly descending into the air. At the point where the sea and sky were connected, a slit opened up in the sky. The heaven vault was opened. Let's go! Numerous figures soared up into the sky, directly flying into the air. But at this moment, the spatial tempest directly entered the heaven vault. At the same time, a terrifying heavenly might bore down on everyone, obstructing them from moving forward. In just an instant, the heaven vault closed once again. A white-robed figure calmly stood in the air, staring at everyone. Qin Wentian. Everyone stared at the handsome young man before them. Their eyes gleamed with a dazzling light as a few terrifying auras soared up into the sky. All of them were the auras of heavenly deities. Clearly, there were still heavenly deities hiding here. Everyone, do you all have any instructions for me? Qin Wenyan stared at everyone below as he calmly spoke. Since the heaven vault has already been exposed, he didn't really care about it. Qin Wenyan, since the heaven vault is under your control, you should share it with everyone in the supreme ancient immortal realms. What do you mean by taking it for yourself? A person coldly spoke. This person was a world overlord from a hegemonic power. Qin Wendian calmly glanced at him. He spoke in disdain. Do you have the qualifications to speak to me? The eyes of that world overlord stiffened as his expression turned unsightly. A heavenly deity spoke. Qin Wenyan, the heaven vault doesn't belong to you alone, right? Do you really dare to monopolize it? I'm the inheritor of the heaven vault. I will naturally be the one to decide who can enter the heaven vault for cultivation. Which power are you from? Qin Wenyan calmly asked. Heavenly Deity Mountain. That heavenly deity spoke with cold arrogance. The heavenly deity mountain also belongs to the supreme ancient immortal realms. It is currently occupied by experts from your heavenly deity mountain. How can you all monopolize it? When I bring a group of people over to the heavenly deity mountain for cultivation, will the heavenly deity mountain welcome me as well? Qin Wenyan calmly spoke, twisting words and forcing logic. That heavenly deity from the heavenly deity mountain coldly snorted. However, another heavenly deity spoke. Qin Wenyan, the experts of the various powers in the heaven region are all here. If you want to monopolize the heaven vault, it would be equivalent to becoming enemies with everyone in the supreme ancient immortal realms. Are you threatening me? Qin Wentian's eyes were cold as he stared at that heavenly deity. That heavenly deity actually felt a faint pressure when he sensed Qin Wentian's gaze. Chapter 1905. The heavenly deity's expression was cold. It was said that Qin Wenyan only managed to verify his Tao 200 years ago when the heaven vault opened. How strong could he be exactly? As a heavenly deity, he naturally had his own pride and prestige. He stared at Qin Wenyan and spoke in a cold voice. It's not that I'm threatening you, this is the truth. Right now, everyone in the supreme ancient immortal realms knows that you are the controller of the heaven vault. I want to ask you, how can you monopolize the heaven vault? Do you really think you can fight against the supreme ancient immortal realms? Many experts below stared at Qin Wenyan. This was indeed the case. The heaven vault was too extraordinary. Everyone in the supreme ancient immortal realms was eyeing it. It was impossible for Qin Wenyan to monopolize it. Qin Wenyan stared at everyone below. It wasn't impossible for him to allow the experts of the supreme ancient immortal realms to enter together. But the prerequisite was that one day, when he truly had the strength to look down on all hegemonic powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms, he would be willing to open the heaven vault and allow everyone to cultivate there. He would be like that mysterious white-robed expert, already standing at the absolute peak. He naturally hoped that his descendants would be extraordinary as well. But now it wasn't possible. This wasn't just because of his selfishness, it was also because the hearts of humans were unfathomable. He allowed everyone to enter the heaven vault, but the people of the supreme ancient immortal realms already knew that the heaven vault was controlled by him. How could they not act against him? How could they not seize control of the heaven vault from him? Back then, the supreme ancient immortal realms attacked Azure Mystic and didn't hesitate to destroy an entire world. What was it for? Cultivation resources, authority. Treasures have always been the source of conflict, let alone the control of the heaven vault. This would definitely cause the experts at the peak of the supreme ancient immortal realms to feel killing intent towards him. If he allowed people to enter the heaven vault, it would only be more dangerous for him. Also, there were the Qin clan and Divine Ox clan present. If you obtain a treasure, would you share it with the people of the world? Qin Wendian laughed. He obtained the will of God King Shi, allowing him to control the heaven vault. In that case, everything in the heaven vault, including who he allowed to enter, would naturally be decided by him. He wouldn't be threatened or coerced by others. If one said that the heaven vault belonged to the supreme ancient immortal realms, that would be a joke. Could it be that the treasures you obtained should belong to the people of the world? Qin Wenyan, I'm afraid this isn't up to you. Earlier, those people were moved into the heaven vault by you, they should be your kin, right? Since you are already on guard, you clearly understand what the heaven vault means. Have you thought of the consequences if you don't open the entrance? That heavenly deity naturally wouldn't argue with Qin Wenyan. He coldly spoke. Qin deity, threatening me like? Qin Wenyan suddenly laughed uproariously. In that case, I will wait for the people of the world outside the heaven vault. I want to see what the consequences are. His voice reverberated through the air as he stood above the boundless sea region. The sea breeze blew past, causing his robes to flutter. His robes fluttered in the wind, exuding an unparalleled elegance. As long as he entered the heaven vault, no one would be able to do anything to him. However, he didn't want to enter the heaven vault. He would stand there and see what the people of the world could do. Many people took out messaging crystals and sent messages to the experts of the powers they were in. Qin Wentian's appearance meant that the heaven vault was opened once again. In addition, the news of Qin Wendian sending a group of people into the heaven vault instantly circulated. In Boundless City, which was the closest to the Boundless Sea region, a storm was brewing. More and more experts were rushing towards the heaven vault. For a period of time, a storm was brewing once again. The Qin clan has been sending people to monitor the heaven vault. In Boundless City, there were 2 heavenly deities from the Qin clan guarding it. After they received the news, their expressions turned cold and they directly headed towards the heaven vault. In the Chu residence, Chu Shun called Goddess Nikang over. He stared at his granddaughter and spoke in a light voice. Earlier, I received news that Wenyan has appeared again and is currently in the heaven vault. He sent a group of people into the heaven vault for cultivation. I'm sure you should know about the news in the outside world during these years. Goddess Nikang nodded lightly. Qin Wenyan caused such a huge commotion, it was impossible for her not to know about it. Do you still remember back then when Wenyan came to the Chu residence? He once asked you what your thoughts were? Chu Shun suddenly asked. Goddess Nikang started, but after that, she nodded lightly. He was asking her what her thoughts were regarding the marriage agreement. Maybe back then he already wanted to say something. Maybe if you said you didn't agree, he might have told you about the heaven vault. However, you didn't express your stance. Chu Shin bitterly smiled. Grandpa knows what you are thinking in your heart. If you don't want to, don't force yourself. This is also your father's wish. Although the heaven vault has become a place coveted by everyone in the supreme ancient immortal realms, it is still very safe inside. I believe other than Wendian, no one else would be able to enter. Goddess Nichang's beautiful eyes flashed. She stared at her grandpa. She naturally understood Chu Shin's thoughts. I'll go to the Boundless Sea region to take a look. Goddess Nikang spoke in a light voice. Chu Shin smiled and nodded lightly. There was nothing he could do about his granddaughter's personality. She was always so cold to everyone. Most probably, it was because her parents weren't around. With regards to this, Chu Shin also felt some guilt. Goddess Nikang then departed. Although her back view was beautiful, there was also a hint of loneliness in it. In Boundless City, experts soared through the air unceasingly, moving as fast as lightning. They stood proudly in the air, exuding terrifying auras as they headed towards the Boundless Sea region. These experts all came here because of the heaven vault. Because Qin Wenyan hadn't appeared for many years, they left the Boundless Sea region. However, they still chose to stay in Boundless City to cultivate and wait. Right now, they finally received news of Qin Wentian's appearance. One could say that the vast majority of the peak powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms had left their experts in Boundless City. Because of Qin Wentian's appearance, They all left their cultivation grounds and headed towards the boundless sea region. For a period of time, a terrifying aura enveloped the entire ancient city. The aura of heavenly deities could casually be released and it would be able to envelop boundless regions. Let alone when so many heavenly deities appeared at the same time. Other than heavenly deities, there were also many powerful world overlords. The people of Boundless City felt their hearts shaking. If it wasn't for Qin Wenqian's appearance, they basically wouldn't be able to imagine that there were so many powerful existences hidden in Boundless City. At the entrance of the Heaven Vault in the Boundless Sea region, more and more experts arrived. The people who arrived earlier weren't in a hurry to do anything to Qin Wenyan. Just like the threat from the heavenly deities earlier, the people who coveted the Heaven Vault weren't merely from a single power. The entire supreme ancient immortal realms was involved. If Qin Wenyan wanted to monopolize the Heaven Vault, he would have to face the entire supreme ancient immortal realms. If Qin Wenyan didn't open the Heaven Vault, there would be many people who wanted to deal with him. Hence, the people who arrived weren't in a hurry. Hence, more and more experts gathered in the airspace above this sea region. Other than people from the various hegemonic powers, there were also many people from Boundless City who came to watch the show. Their gazes were fixed on the white-robed figure in the air. His white robes fluttered in the wind as he stood there with his eyes closed, exuding an incomparably calm demeanor. Many people couldn't help but to silently praise him. At such a time, he was actually able to remain so calm. As expected of a legendary character of the supreme ancient immortal realms, Lin Shao also arrived. He still followed the mystical maiden, like he had to woo this supreme beauty no matter what. His gaze turned to Qin Wenyan who was in the air. Back then in the world of reincarnation, Qin Wenyan already had such a demeanor now. Goddess Nikhang also came. Her beautiful eyes stared at the calm figure in the air. There was no expression on her beautiful face. Goddess Nikhang. Her appearance instantly caused a huge commotion. She is currently looking at Qin Wenyan. However, there doesn't seem to be any hatred between them. Many people discussed. Back then when Qin Wenyan abducted Goddess Nikhang, a huge storm was created. By right, Goddess Nikhang shouldn't be so calm when she saw him. Could it be that something really happened? Many people were waiting. No one seemed to be in a hurry to make things difficult for Qin Wenyan. Finally, two heavenly deities from the Qin clan walked out. Their expressions were cold as they spoke. Qin Wenyan is extremely ambitious. He actually wants to control the Heaven Vault alone. Everyone, why is there a need to waste time here? Let's directly capture him and force him to reveal the secret of the Heaven Vault. Qin Wenyan opened his eyes and stared at the two heavenly deities from the Qin clan. Qin Wenyan, why don't you speak for yourself? Are you willing to open the Heaven Vault and allow everyone in the world to cultivate inside? Someone spoke. Qin Wenyan didn't reply. When everyone saw this, their expressions turned even colder. Someone spoke. Since he isn't willing to express his stance, why is there a need for all of you to waste your breath? Many voices rang out. All of them wanted to capture Qin Wenyan and seize the secret of the Heaven Vault. For a period of time, Qin Wenyan became the target of everyone. Qin Wenyan opened his eyes, sweeping his gaze through the countless experts in the vast sea region. Since he would have to face them sooner or later, he might as well make things clear now. If anyone wants to be his enemy, he would accept them all. Today, I won't hide anything from everyone. The Heaven Vault was left behind by an ancient expert. Now that it has been inherited by me, this means that the Heaven Vault now belongs to me. I waited here for everyone to come because I want to tell everyone in the world that the Heaven Vault belongs to me. I can allow whoever I want to enter. If anyone wants to forcefully threaten me, I, Qin Wenyan, will accept them all. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. His gaze swept through the vast sea region. The wind in the air was very strong, causing his long robes to flutter. He stood here, announcing to everyone in the world that the Heaven Vault belongs to him. He can allow whoever he wants to enter. If anyone wants to threaten him, he would accept them all. Chapter 1906. Carefree. Many people praised in their hearts. Facing the experts of the supreme ancient immortal realms, Qin Wenyin was able to reply in such a domineering manner. The heaven vault belongs to him. He can allow whoever he wants to enter. How carefree was this? It was like he didn't care about the threats from the various hegemonic powers at all. However, carefree was one thing. But could he really withstand the anger of the experts of the supreme ancient immortal realms? Let alone Qin Wenyin, even if the hegemonic powers at the peak of the supreme ancient immortal realms obtained the heaven vault, it wouldn't be so easy for them to protect it, right? Everyone has heard his words. After a moment of silence, a heavenly deity spoke, his tone filled with mockery. Indeed, the heaven vault was inherited by Qin Wenyin and by right, it should be under his control. However, did he have the strength to do so? Announcing this in front of the experts of the supreme ancient immortal realms, it seemed extremely arrogant and ridiculous, not knowing the immensity of the heavens and earth. Even if he was already a heavenly deity. Qin Wenyin laughed carefreely. He calmly spoke, "Since this is the case, who wants to threaten me to hand over the heaven vault? You can stand in front of me and say it." Upon hearing Qin Wenyan's words, the people in the air above the sea region fell silent again. Qin Wenyin has already said that if someone wants to threaten him, he would accept it. Right now, he wanted someone to stand out. This meant that he was prepared to accept it. Who would want to stand out? Upon seeing everyone falling silent, Qin Wenyin laughed. No matter what, everyone here is from the peak powers of the supreme ancient immortal realms. There are quite a few heavenly deities here. If you guys only dare to hide in the crowd and cause a ruckus, it's best that you don't embarrass yourselves here. His words already contained a hint of provocation. Arrogant. Lin Xiao laughed when he heard Qin Wenyan's words. The mystical maiden was also somewhat speechless. This Qin Wenyan not only didn't intentionally avoid the threats from the experts of the supreme ancient immortal realms, he even took the initiative to welcome them. Truly, he was extremely arrogant. Evil creature. A cold voice rang out. Two heavenly deities from the Qin clan walked out. Their gazes were cold as they stared at Qin Wenyin. One of them spoke, "Qin Wenyin, although your father betrayed the Qin clan back then, no matter what, the blood of the Qin clan still flows in your veins. If you are willing to apologize on behalf of your father and beg for the clan leader's forgiveness, offering the heaven vault to the Qin clan, maybe the Qin clan might consider the fact that you have the same bloodline and forgive the mistakes you and your father committed. Offer the heaven vault to the Qin clan? Apologize? Beg for forgiveness?" Qin Wenyin stared at the heavenly deity of the Qin clan. Such shameless words actually sounded so righteous when spoken by this heavenly deity. Could it be that the stronger one's cultivation base was, the thicker their skin would be? I've never been someone from the Qin clan. My father also feels that it's a shame to be born in the Qin clan. As for you all, where did these old fogies come from? How can you be so shameless? Do you still have any face? Qin Wenyan mocked. The two heavenly deities from the Qin clan had cold expressions. They released their auras, causing heavenly might to surge as a terrifying might erupted forth in the air. As expected of a vile spawn. Since this is the case, we can only force you back to the Qin clan to be punished. The other heavenly deity spoke in a righteous manner. Forcing Qin Wenyin to go back to the Qin clan to be punished? The others wouldn't agree. So it turned out that the purpose of these two heavenly deities was to bring Qin Wenyin away. If they obtained Qin Wenyin, it would mean that they would obtain the heaven vault. It was impossible for the Qin clan to have such a good plan. However, with the heavenly deities from the Qin clan acting as the vanguard, they didn't mind watching the show first. But it was clearly impossible for them to bring Qin Wenyin away so easily. How thick-headed. The Qin clan's heavenly deity coldly spoke. A vertical eye appeared in the center of his brows. This eye was extremely terrifying and demonic, radiating heavenly might. In an instant, the entire space before him was enveloped by this vertical eye, including Qin Wenyan's body. Qin Li, the Eye of Judgment. The heavenly deities of the supreme ancient immortal realms were all extremely famous characters. The moment this person acted, even those juniors who have never seen him before knew who he was. Qin Li of the Qin clan. He used the Qin clan's bloodline art to form the heavenly Tao and open the Eye of Judgment. This eye contained the might of the heavenly Tao and could punish people, depriving them of everything. Qin Wenyin felt the might of the Eye of Judgment landing on him. For a moment, his entire body felt a bone-piercing coldness. Was this the same power that deprived his father of everything? Back then, his father was ganged up on by many elders of the Qin clan and many experts participated. He had no idea what sort of pain his father had to endure exactly. But now that he was a heavenly deity, he could faintly sense the power of the Eye of Judgment. Could it be that back then, it was precisely the power of the Eye of Judgment that deprived his father of everything? His father, who was ganged up on and heavily injured, had his body, blood, and soul stripped away. This heavenly might was extremely terrifying and tyrannical, enveloping a part of the sky. It directly ravaged Qin Wentian's body. But right now, there was only coldness in Qin Wentian's eyes. The other party frowned. The Eye of Judgment descended, capable of punishing everything in the world, stripping everything away. However, Qin Wenyin actually stood there steadily. He could sense the existence of a sealing energy within Qin Wentian's body, completely sealing the energy that gushed into his body, preventing his body from being corroded. Qin Wenyin took a step out, traversing through space, and appeared before Qin Wenyin. This distance was simply too short to heavenly deities, let alone Qin Wenyin, who was proficient in the laws of spacetime. It was just a single step. Qin Wenyin glanced at Qin Wenyin. In just an instant, Qin Wenyin only felt that this gaze created a spacetime that enveloped him. His body directly sank, entering the spacetime created by Qin Wentian's gaze. This was a spacetime that was under his control, incomparably tyrannical. That vertical eye radiated a terrifying light. In the sky, a terrifying eye appeared, locking onto this world. However, to Qin Wentian's shock, he discovered that even the entire sky was sealed within Qin Wentian's spacetime. His Tao was also only manifested within Qin Wentian's spacetime. An ancient character descended with inconceivable speed. It was like a sword of the heavenly Tao. Qin Wentian's gaze was filled with shock. He felt that this sword was too fast, so fast that he couldn't evade it. It wasn't that the sword was fast, but rather, in this spacetime, he was too slow. Spacetime was controlled by Qin Wenyin. Speed and slowness could be controlled by him as he pleased. He roared in rage. The eye in the center of his brows shot out with an inconceivable speed. This was like a sword of the heavenly Tao. Qin Wentian's gaze was filled with shock. He felt that this sword was too fast, so fast that he couldn't evade it. It wasn't that the sword was fast, but rather, in this spacetime, he was too slow. Spacetime was controlled by Qin Wenyin. Arg! A miserable scream rang out. The eye in the center of Qin Wentian's brows was directly pierced through, causing blood to flow out. He clutched his forehead with both hands, feeling incomparable pain. However, everyone in the surroundings stared at him in shock. Because right now, Qin Wenyin didn't seem to be in the same spacetime as them. He was in a spacetime created by Qin Wenyin, a spacetime world that was sealed. From today onwards, you will be imprisoned in this sealed world for all eternity, sinking into oblivion. Qin Wenyin coldly spoke. With a single glance, that sealed spacetime seemed to vanish completely, as though it had never existed in this world. It was unknown where it was sent to. Qin Wenyin also vanished along with it. It wasn't difficult for heavenly deities to create a world. However, Qin Wenyin actually sealed that world for all eternity, causing Qin Wenyin to sink into oblivion. As long as Qin Wenyin couldn't break out of that world, he would never be able to come out. Also, Qin Wenyin, who had his forehead pierced through by Qin Wentian's ancient character, clearly had no more strength to break out of the sealed spacetime world created by Qin Wenyin. Was a heavenly deity finished just like that? It was like a child's play. Everyone in the world knew that there was a difference in strength in every cultivation realm. The higher one went, the greater the disparity. At the heavenly deity realm, the disparity between different heavenly deities could reach a terrifying level. At this moment, they personally witnessed it. Qin Wenyan and Qin Li were both heavenly deities, but the disparity between them wasn't just a little bit. It was absolute suppression. Before Qin Wenyan, Qin Li was no different from a world overlord. However, everyone knew that Qin Wenyan was a heavenly deity, a powerful heavenly deity. It was unknown how many years it has been since he became a heavenly deity. As for Qin Wenyan, it has only been around 200 plus years since he became a heavenly deity. However, the strength of a heavenly deity wasn't something that could be determined by time. The other heavenly deity from the Qin clan was named Qin Song. When he saw the battle that ended in an instant, his countenance turned extremely pale. His strength was roughly on the same level as Qin Li. If he fought against Qin Wenyan, the ending could very well be imagined. Qin Yuanfeng's son was already so powerful to such an extent? He involuntarily thought of heaven's son Qin Dangtian. Was Qin Dangtian as strong as him 200 years after he became a heavenly deity? He discovered to his shock that he didn't have any confidence at all. Heaven's son Qin Dangtian's talent was publicly acknowledged by everyone in the Qin clan. In the future, he would definitely surpass Qin Zheng and might even become the strongest king of the Qin clan. However, when he compared Qin Dangtian to Qin Wenyan, he didn't have absolute confidence that Qin Dangtian would win. What did this mean? This meant that as long as this rebellious son of the Qin clan was given enough time, he might surpass everyone in the Qin clan. What would the situation be like then? During these years, there have been many rumors regarding me. As a heavenly deity of the Qin clan, you should have heard of them before, right? Qin Wenyan stared at Qin Song as he asked. Qin Song's expression was unsightly. He had indeed heard of them before. In that case, have you not heard of the rumor that Qin Zhong's death was caused by me alone? Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. Qin Song's countenance turned pale. If Qin Wenyan said this back then, he would definitely doubt it. But now, he actually believed it. I can kill a heavenly deity of your Qin clan when I'm at the world overlord realm. The two of you also want to bring me to the Qin clan? Qin Wenyan mocked. The hearts of everyone trembled. Just like Qin Song, at this moment, no one doubted Qin Wenyan's words. Back then, Qin Zhong was killed by him alone when he was at the world overlord realm. Don't worry, I won't kill you nor will I banish you. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. It was like the fate of this heavenly deity before him was already decided by him. No one could doubt him. If he wanted Qin Song to die, Qin Song wouldn't be able to live. The Qin clan still has a heavenly deity from the Luotian clan, right? Just nice, they can use that heavenly deity to exchange for you. You better pray that nothing will happen to him or you will experience the same thing. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. A single sentence from him seemed to have determined his fate, the fate of a heavenly deity from the Qin clan. Chapter 1907. After Qin Song heard Qin Wenyan's words, he directly turned and took a step out, soaring through the air. A powerful heavenly deity from the Qin clan actually wanted to flee? This seemed somewhat ironic. Not long ago, Qin Li and Qin Song even said that they wanted Qin Wenyan to apologize to the Qin clan and hand over the Heaven Vault to the Qin clan. They wanted to bring Qin Wenyan away for punishment. But now he, a heavenly deity, actually chose to flee without fighting. Although it was ironic, it was also normal. Qin Song and Qin Li's strength weren't too far apart. Qin Wenyan could easily banish Qin Li. In that case, it wouldn't be difficult for him to deal with Qin Song as well. How difficult was it to cultivate to the heavenly deity level? He naturally cherished his life even more. Don't you feel that it's too late to leave now? Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. A single glance from him seemed to cause time and space to distort. His gaze was extremely terrifying, shooting out beams of heavenly Tao light. With a single glance, the entire space was enveloped by his eyes. Space was twisting and distorting. It felt like the space-time before him was frenziedly revolving. At this moment, the experts of the Boundless Sea region were all staring at Qin Wenyan's eyes. His eyes were like the heavenly Tao, representing the laws of heaven and earth. Qin Song felt the distortions in the space-time. His expression turned ashen as he punched out, causing the heavens and earth to rumble. His punch seemed to be able to envelop the entire space, but it wasn't able to break through the distorted spacetime. The distorted spacetime rotated in reverse, engulfing his body within. After that, it connected to Qin Wenyan's body. "If I don't allow you to leave, would you be able to?" Qin Wenyan arrogantly spoke. "Since you want to enter the heaven vault so much, I will send you in." Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. After that, the distorted spacetime shot up into the sky. A crack appeared in the heaven vault as the sealed spacetime was sent into it. Qin Wenyan was actually so confident that even a heavenly deity in his peak condition wouldn't be able to break through his sealed spacetime. Is that still a powerful heavenly deity? Many world overlords felt their hearts trembling. The battle they saw today had toppled everything they knew. Powerful heavenly deities were actually like ants being crushed by others, unable to retaliate at all. In truth, they had never seen it before because it was very rare for deity-level battles to erupt in the supreme ancient immortal realms. A battle between heavenly deities would implicate too many people and all the major powers would feel some trepidation. However, between Qin Wenyan and the Qin clan, there was basically no way for them to ease up. They were originally mortal enemies. Who would care about it? Back then in the heaven vault, the Qin clan forced Qin Wenyan to enter the god's extinction path. How would Qin Wenyan be polite when dealing with a heavenly deity of the Qin clan? Hence, the deity-level battle they saw today was different from what they had imagined. But to those peak characters from the hegemonic powers, other than being shocked by how strong Qin Wenyan was, they didn't find it strange that there was such a huge disparity in strength between heavenly deities. However, wasn't Qin Wenyan a little too monstrous? It was like he easily dealt with the two heavenly deities of the Qin clan. Most probably, other than the few powerful heavenly deities of the Qin clan, even if the other heavenly deities appeared before him, they wouldn't be able to pose any threat to him. Was this what he relied on to face the people of the world outside the heaven vault? His strength was so strong that even ordinary heavenly deities had to look up to him. Qin Wenyan still stood in the air above the sea region. The sea breeze continued to caress his body, but the gazes of everyone when they looked at Qin Wenyan had already changed. It was no longer as wanton as before, as though they could crush him easily. They truly understood that this handsome young man who stood proudly in the air was able to become famous in the supreme ancient immortal realms. It wasn't a coincidence that he had such strength. He was currently writing a legend that belonged to him. Undoubtedly, in the future, Qin Wenyan would surely leave behind a mark in the history of the supreme ancient immortal realms. Countless gazes stared at Qin Wenyan, including some familiar faces. Goddess Nikhang also didn't expect that the young man who almost fell into a devil's heart back then in the world of reincarnation would actually be so powerful to such an extent. No wonder the legendary place ultimately chose him. The legendary place of the Tiandao Sacred Academy was like a place where one could see the will of the heavens. Qin Wenyan was being stared at by countless gazes, but his expression was as calm as water. The reason why he displayed his strength was because he wanted to intimidate some people. He wanted to prevent others from wanting to fish in troubled waters. If they wanted to force him to open the heaven vault, they better be prepared to be enemies with him. Strength was undoubtedly the best method to intimidate others. After this battle, other than the hegemonic powers of the supreme ancient immortal realms, there wouldn't be any other hegemonic powers who dared to have any designs on him. If not, they would simply be overestimating their own capabilities. Is there anyone else who wants to threaten me and wants to enter the heaven vault? You can step out now. I might consider sending you into the heaven vault. Qin Wenyan calmly smiled. Send him into the heaven vault? Like Qin Song? If one's strength was inferior to Qin Wenyan, so what if they entered the heaven vault? On the contrary, they would be like a turtle trapped in a jar, being toyed with by Qin Wenyan. This time around, everyone shut up. Those heavenly deities who were arrogant earlier also tactfully didn't say anything. In such a situation now, if ordinary heavenly deities still dared to threaten Qin Wenyan, they would truly not know what's good for them. Qin Wenyan clearly wanted to use the advantage of the heaven vault and was prepared to fight against the experts of the supreme ancient immortal realms. It was fine if his strength wasn't strong, they could still suppress him. But it just so happened that Qin Wentian's strength was sufficient to destroy all of them. Who would dare to step forward? Were they tired of living? But earlier, weren't there many people who threatened me? Now, all of you have shut up? Qin Wentian mockingly laughed. After that, he waved his hand and in an instant, a hole appeared in the sky. This was none other than the heaven vault. Who wishes to enter? Qin Wentian calmly asked. If there is someone who wishes to enter, I might not obstruct you. The heaven vault was open just like that. As long as someone was willing, they would be able to enter. But not long ago, they were still frantically wanting to enter. Now that the heaven vault was opened up, no one dared to express their thoughts. If they entered the heaven vault, how could they fight against Qin Wentian? Wouldn't that mean that Qin Wentian could do whatever he wanted to them? Is there no one? Qin Wentian smiled as he asked. Me. At this moment, a voice rang out. After that, a person soared through the air and flew over. He was dressed simply and stood there, resembling an extremely sharp sword. He stared at Qin Wentian. If you agree, I do wish to enter the heaven vault to cultivate. Qin Wentian stared at the person who came and smiled. Since Senior is interested, Junior will naturally welcome you. Please. He had seen this person before, but this was the first time he spoke to him. This person was none other than the sword monarch, Jian Junlai. Jian Junlai nodded lightly to Qin Wentian. After that, his silhouette flashed as he transformed into a beam of sword light and directly entered the heaven vault. In front of the eyes of everyone, he actually entered the heaven vault. I didn't allow you guys to enter, but you guys wanted to threaten me. But when I allowed you guys to enter, no one entered. How ridiculous! Qin Wentian mockingly laughed. His silhouette flashed as he directly entered the heaven vault. After he entered, the heaven vault closed once more. Qin Wentian's voice still echoed through the air. Some people had ugly expressions on their faces while others spoke in a depressed tone. Yeah, Qin Wentian said earlier that he can allow anyone he wants to enter. Before this, he allowed people to enter. Why didn't I enter like the sword monarch? I missed my chance. Lin Xiao smacked his head as he spoke in a depressed tone. Who said that entering the heaven vault meant becoming enemies with Qin Wentian? That was because there were people who threatened Qin Wentian earlier. This was why he acted so domineeringly. But if he took the initiative to invite people and didn't have any ulterior motives in his heart, there shouldn't be any problems for him to enter the heaven vault, right? Could it be that Qin Wentian would really kill those who entered the heaven vault? After thinking it through, many people felt regret, like they missed out on something. However, there were also some who snorted disdainfully. Maybe Qin Wentian didn't obstruct Qin Wentian because he saw Jian Junlai. If it was someone else, who could guarantee that Qin Wentian would allow them to enter? That might not be the case. When they thought of this, many people felt relieved. However, the experts gathered here all felt like they were being toyed around in the palm of Qin Wentian's hands. There were so many experts here, but they couldn't do anything to a newly ascended heavenly deity. In fact, even if he opened the heaven vault, no one dared to enter. How ironic was this? The battle at the Boundless Sea region was like Qin Wentian's fame. It circulated through the supreme ancient immortal realms. The son of the traitor of the Qin clan, Qin Yuanfeng, was now so powerful that he dared to challenge the Qin clan, easily dealing with two heavenly deities of the Qin clan. One of them was exiled by Qin Wentian and the other was trapped in the heaven vault, never to come out again. After that, a voice rang out from the heaven vault, telling the Qin clan to bring the heavenly deities of the Luotian clan and the 10 world overlords to exchange for them. After the Qin clan received this news, they were all enraged. In addition to Qin Li and Qin Song, the Qin clan had already lost 4 heavenly deities ever since the heaven vault opened. 2 died in the god's extinction path, 1 died in the hands of Qin Tiangang and 1 died in the terrifying god's extinction path. Right now, Qin Li was imprisoned forever and Qin Song was in the hands of Qin Wentian. Although the Qin clan was one of the 3 hegemonic powers in the heaven region and had many heavenly deities, 4 heavenly deities were sufficient to cause the Qin clan to suffer a huge blow. Also, this didn't include Qin Zhong who died in the desolate region. Including Qin Zhong, there were 5 heavenly deities in total. The irony was that the deaths of 5 heavenly deities were all related to a single person, Qin Wenyin. One was once humiliated and ignored by Qin Dangtian, the son of the traitor of the Qin clan, causing the powerful Qin clan to lose face time and time again, losing heavenly deities. Unknowingly, there were already 5 heavenly deities who died in the hands of Qin Wenyin. Thinking about it, it was extremely terrifying. Boundless City once again attracted the attention of the supreme ancient immortal realms. Countless experts rushed here, including heavenly deities from the various hegemonic powers. They were prepared to have a good chat with Qin Wenyin. Since Qin Wenyin could allow Jian Junlai to enter the heaven vault, why couldn't he allow them to enter? The commotion in the outside world seemed to have nothing to do with Qin Wenyin. He was currently cultivating in the heaven vault. Naturally, there were a few people currently transmitting their voices to him. Back then, I could already tell that you would definitely be able to stand proudly at the top of the supreme ancient immortal realms in the future. Hence, I decided to befriend you and treat you to wine. Seems like my judgment is truly accurate. I can't help but be impressed. Brother Qin, now that your name has spread through the supreme ancient immortal realms, have you forgotten the brothers who went through thick and thin together with you? The 4 of us are now together and are preparing to seek refuge with you. 10 Miles Springwind's voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. This fellow was still as shameless as before. Bring some good wine over. However, don't blame me for not reminding you guys. You guys entered the heaven vault with the identity of my friends. This news will spread out sooner or later. In the future, in the outside world. Qin Wentian stopped here. 10 Miles Springwind naturally understood. Qin Wentian's possession of the heaven vault meant that he had offended all the hegemonic powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms. It was true that they could cultivate in the heaven vault if they recognized him as a friend. Can it be that we are not friends? Don't tell me that you don't want to recognize us anymore after becoming a heavenly deity? 10 Miles Springwind jokingly spoke. Qin Wentian smiled. If his friends wanted to come, he would naturally welcome them. Chapter 1908. Outside the heaven vault, the experts in Boundless City were as many as the clouds. Qin Zheng and Qin Dangtian of the Qin clan personally arrived, but by the time they rushed over, the heaven vault had already closed. They could only stay in Boundless City to plan on how to deal with Qin Wenyin. Right now, their Qin clan still had a heavenly deity, Qin Tsang, in Qin Wentian's hands. But as long as Qin Wentian hid in the heaven vault and didn't come out, they wouldn't be able to enter. The entrance to the heaven vault, other than Qin Wentian, no one else would be able to open it. Qin Wentian's current strength also caused Qin Jing to feel a trace of threat. If this continued, Qin Wenyin might really threaten their Qin clan. They had to find an opportunity to eliminate Qin Wenyin. But inside the heaven vault, the scene was completely different. Back then, the friends Qin Wenyin befriended when he attended the convention, 10 Miles Springwind, Old Ghost, Phoenix, Chao Tian, all came to the heaven vault. Many people personally saw them entering, but the instant the heaven vault closed, no one dared to enter recklessly. Qin Wentian's strength was clear for all to see. He was a huge deterrent. Within the heaven vault, in the starry space, a group of figures sat in the air. There was a stone platform in the center and the fragrance of wine permeated the air. Naturally, this wine was brought here by 10 Miles Springwind. At this moment, Chao Tian took out his messaging crystal and seemed to be busy with something. Chao Tian, it's so hard for us to reunite. Why are you so busy? 10 Miles Springwind asked. I can only say that the heaven vault is too famous. The moment we entered, the news instantly circulated out. The people of my clan are all asking about it. Chao Tian spoke. When did you receive the favor of your clan? 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Chao Tian kept his messaging crystal and spoke. Ignore them, it'll affect my mood. Let's drink. Reality. Phoenix laughed. Chao Tian, you should be feeling proud and elated. You, who were previously disliked, have probably become a popular figure in the Scarlet Sun sky. 10 Miles Springwind continued to tease Chao Tian. After that, his gaze turned to Qin Wenyin. Although I already knew that Qin Wenyan would definitely be extraordinary in the future, I didn't expect it to be so fast. Heavenly deities can't even withstand a single strike from you. Qin Song of the Qin clan should still be trapped by you, right? I didn't expect it, just like how I didn't expect Jun Lai to become the sword monarch in a single leap. The affairs of the world are unpredictable, isn't that the case? Old Ghost raised his head and drank his wine. Not only were they present, the sword monarch Jian Junlai was also seated at the side. So it turned out that the reason why Old Ghost was so familiar with Jian Junlai was because he was acquainted with Jian Junlai. Back then when they participated in the convention together, they were already friends. After that, Jian Junlai became a character whose name shook the entire mystic region. He was given the title of the Sword Monarch, the #1 sword in the mystic region. Old Ghost, you really can serve as a foil. Phoenix teased. They were also somewhat taken aback. Old Ghost was actually acquainted with Jian Junlai and their relationship was very good. Many years ago when he participated in the convention, he served as a foil for Jian Junlai. Now, he served as a foil for Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan's fame today was only stronger and not weaker compared to Jian Junlai back then. Jian Junlai caused a storm in the mystic region while Qin Wenyan caused a storm in the supreme ancient immortal realms. This can also be considered fate. During the two conventions that Old Ghost participated in, the time monument appeared both times. Qin Wenyan and I both received the guidance of the Time King and now, we finally have a chance to sit together. Jian Junlai spoke. He didn't speak much and right now, the sharpness radiating from him had already vanished. In fact, he exuded a scholarly aura, no longer exuding a tyrannical aura. For fate cheers. Qin Wenyan raised his cup and smiled. Everyone drank together. At this moment, a voice rang out in Qin Wenyan's mind. His eyes flashed and he took out his messaging crystal and sent a strand of his divine sense into it. What's wrong? 10 Miles Springwind asked. My grandfather is here and will be arriving at the Heaven Vault soon. I'll go and receive him. Qin Wenyan spoke. Everyone nodded. Qin Wenyan's grandfather, the original clan leader of the Luoshan clan, Luoshan Chuan. Back then when Qin Wenyan's name circulated around the mystic region, 10 Miles Springwind and the others were all shocked. He was actually the son of Qin Yuanfeng and Luoshan Qianxue. Qin Wenyan's silhouette flashed as he left this place. At the same time, in the airspace above the boundless sea region, a terrifying gigantic bird soared through the air. This bird had a wingspan of 1,000,000 miles and with a single flap of its wings, a violent hurricane would be formed, causing the surface of the sea to churn violently. Its speed was extremely fast, traversing boundless regions with a single flash. This gigantic bird was a Kuan rock. In just a few breaths of time, it arrived at the location of the Heaven Vault. When the experts in the surroundings saw the appearance of the Kuan rock, many heavenly deities had a dazzling light in their eyes. Kuan Sovereign. The Kuan Sovereign of the Demon God Mountain has also come to the Heaven Vault. Who is on his back? The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness. The Kuan Sovereign was one of the 5 demon sovereigns of the Demon God Mountain. On his back, there seemed to be someone beneath the gigantic feathers. There seems to be quite a few people. The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness. The Kuan Sovereign had transformed into a Kuan rock. How gigantic was his body? Each of his feathers was larger than humans and could easily hide people within them. At this moment, there seemed to be a human silhouette within the feathers on his back. Luo Shenchuan. The eyes of some people narrowed. They actually saw Luo Shenchuan standing within the feathers on the back of the Kuan Sovereign. However, compared to the gigantic body of the Kuan Sovereign, Luo Shenchuan seemed extremely small. But even so, he couldn't escape the detection of the divine sense. When they thought of the relationship between Luo Shenchuan and Qin Wenyan, their gazes froze as a thought appeared in their minds. The Kuan Sovereign came here for the Heaven Vault and Luo Shenchuan was traveling with him. Clearly, the Heaven Vault was about to open soon. Their divine senses swept out, wanting to see clearly who the others were. However, the Kuan rock was known as the Sovereign of the Sky. His speed was incomparably fast, Like lightning, he directly soared up into the sky. A crack appeared in the sky. It was none other than the opening of the heaven vault. After that, the gigantic body of the Kuan rock directly entered it, and in the next instant, the crack in the sky gradually closed. I seem to have seen many people. There are many people hiding on the back of the Kuan sovereign. Someone exclaimed in shock. In the desolate region, Luo Shenchuan once joined forces with the demon god mountain to deal with the divine ox clan. Seems like because of this relationship, Qin Wenin allowed the people of the demon god mountain to enter the heaven vault for cultivation. Everyone soon guessed some things. In addition to the voices from the desolate region, they immediately guessed that there were probably many people hiding on the back of the Kuan sovereign. It was just that the Kuan sovereign's speed was simply too fast, so fast that the vision of others couldn't catch up to him. Their divine senses only swept out for a moment before the Kuan sovereign vanished. Within the heaven vault, the body of the Kuan sovereign continued moving forward, arriving at the ancient pathway in the starry space. Before him, Qin Wentian's figure appeared. After that, the Kuan sovereign spread his wings, each of his feathers unfurled, and in the next instant, numerous figures walked out from his wings. Just like what the people outside guessed, there were over 1,000 people who came here. The heaven-devouring demon sovereign also walked out, as well as the other 3 demon sovereigns. The 5 demon sovereigns of the demon god mountain appeared together. Other than them, there were also many people around the Luotian clan. They stared at the young man before them as emotions filled their hearts. They were all people from the Luotian clan and were willing to follow Luo Shenchuan. Now, they accompanied the Kuan sovereign to the heaven vault. Once, the young man whom the Luotian clan didn't really like was the controller of the heaven vault. The entire supreme ancient immortal realms wanted to obtain it, and he was already a heavenly deity. Ordinary heavenly deities couldn't even withstand a single strike from him. He captured Qin Tsang of the Qin clan and made the Qin clan use the heavenly deities of their Luotian clan to exchange for Qin Tsang, wanting to cleanse the humiliation of the past for their Luotian clan. When they thought of how the Luotian clan treated him back then, many people in the Luotian clan felt guilt in their hearts. This was simply too shameful. This was also the reason why they were determined to follow Luo Shenchuan. Seniors, I trust you have been well since we last met. Qin Wentian smiled. Brat, you are already so strong now. Why are you still addressing us as seniors? The demonic eyes of the heaven-devouring demon sovereign stared at Qin Wentian. He didn't expect that in just a few hundred years, Qin Wentian would have such accomplishments today. His talent was simply too shocking. Qin Wentian smiled. I am a senior, it's only right for me to address you as such. Now that all of you have come to the heaven vault, you can cultivate freely in this boundless starry space. In fact, all of you can choose some demon-attributed constellations and treat them as your demon god mountain. Treating a single constellation as a demon god mountain? The heaven-devouring demon sovereign mumbled. After that, he laughed uproariously. How tyrannical! In the supreme ancient immortal realms, there shouldn't be any other peak powers as grand as you, right? In this boundless starry space, it's fine even if Senior wants more constellations. Qin Wentian laughed. Grin. The Kuan sovereign calmly spoke. He glanced at the constellations in the air. However, Qin Wentian did have the qualifications to be grand. The heaven vault was under his control. The 9 heavenly layers and the countless constellations in the 9 heavenly layers could all be transformed into cultivation grounds. In the entire supreme ancient immortal realms, there wouldn't be a second person who could be as grand as him. Awesome. The dragon sovereign laughed. I'm preparing to choose a demonic dragon-type constellation to nurture my demonic dragon bloodline. In that case, I will choose a rock-type constellation. The Kuan sovereign laughed. What about me? The heaven-devouring demon sovereign glared in anger. Fine, little rascal and I will occupy a constellation each. Everyone laughed. Who asked heaven-devouring beasts to be so rare? Seniors, please. Qin Wentian spoke. Everyone nodded and stepped onto the ancient pathway. Qin Wentian followed behind the experts, staring at the boundless starry space. Right now, the number of people in the heaven vault gradually increased. In the future, this ancient pathway could be used to create homes for the Demon God Mountain and the Luotian clan. There would definitely be a day when the power of the Heaven Vault would be able to contend against the supreme ancient immortal realms. He believed that as long as he had enough time, the power of the Heaven Vault would be able to contend against the supreme ancient immortal realms. Chapter 1909. In an inn in Boundless City, at this moment, the area around the inn was under control. There were many experts guarding the surroundings, and the cultivation bases of these guards were all terrifyingly powerful. All of them were world overlords with no exceptions. Also, they were dressed in different attires. They were all world overlords from different powers. But at this moment, they only had the qualifications to stand guard outside. At a place extremely far away from the inn, there were many experts spectating, wanting to know what would happen in the inn, because they knew what statuses the people sitting in the inn right now had. Just a few words from them could cause the entire supreme ancient immortal realms to tremble. Today, the Qin clan leader, Qin Zheng, invited the experts of the various hegemonic powers here. This wasn't a secret, and the news had long circulated around Boundless City. As for why they were talking, everyone could guess. Naturally, it was because of the Heaven Vault. At this moment, everyone in the inn was a hegemonic character of a region. Ordinary heavenly deities could only stand. As for those seated here, there were the Qin clan leader Qin Zheng, the Qinkuan sect leader, the Nine Heavens mystical maiden, the Che clan leader, the Thunder clan leader, the Five Elements sect leader, the poison god of the God Extermination Palace. Any one of them was a hegemonic character in the supreme ancient immortal realms. Most probably, only someone with Qin Zheng's status would be able to invite them here. Ordinary heavenly deities wouldn't have such weight. I'm sure everyone has already guessed the reason why I invited all of you here today. The Heaven Vault is the most suitable secret realm for cultivation in the supreme ancient immortal realms. It is connected to the 9 heavenly layers, and one would be able to comprehend the Tao on the constellations there. I believe that since all of you have come to Boundless City, everyone would be interested in the Heaven Vault, right? Qin Zheng spoke. Qin Zheng, just tell us your purpose directly. There's no need for such empty words. The Qinkuan sect leader calmly spoke. They weren't here to listen to Qin Zheng's nonsense. What did he want to do by gathering them here exactly? Right. Qin Zheng nodded. For a secret realm like the Heaven Vault, all powers would want it. It would be extremely difficult for anyone to monopolize it. Hence, we can only control it together. This way, we would be able to control the situation in the supreme ancient immortal realms. Everyone naturally understood that with the Heaven Vault, they would be able to create heavenly deities in the future. They would be able to control the supreme ancient immortal realms for all eternity. Naturally, this was unless they fought amongst themselves. Right now, the Heaven Vault is still in the hands of the traitor of your Qin clan. He is hiding inside and not coming out. In addition, he even gathered experts from the Luotian clan and Demon God Mountain to hide in there for tens of thousands of years. What can you do? What's the point of discussing the ownership of the Heaven Vault now? The Che clan leader calmly spoke. Everyone stared at Qin Zheng. Since he gathered everyone here, it meant that he already had a plan. Qin Wenyan wants our Qin clan to use the people from the Luotian clan to exchange for Qin Song. If we want to exchange, the Heaven Vault would definitely open. Qin Zheng spoke. The eyes of everyone flashed. Indeed, this matter has already been circulated. Qin Song was captured alive because he wanted to exchange hostages with the Qin clan. Given everyone's capabilities, if they are prepared, even if the Heaven Vault only opens for an instant, it should be sufficient for them to enter. Qin Zheng spoke. At that time, as long as all of us enter the Heaven Vault together and send half of our experts outside, how can Qin Wenyan escape? The eyes of everyone flashed with a strange light. Qin Zheng's words could be considered a plan. This matter might not succeed if the Qin clan acted alone. After all, Qin Wenyan himself was already very strong, and there were heavenly deities from the Luotian clan. In addition, the 5 demon sovereigns were also in the Heaven Vault. Who knew if they would act on behalf of Qin Wenyan or not? In that case, the various hegemonic powers had to join forces before they would have a chance to seize the Heaven Vault. The peak experts of the supreme ancient immortal realms were discussing how to seize the Heaven Vault. Over at Qin Wentian's side, it was as though he was isolated from the world. He had no idea what was happening in the outside world. At this moment, Qin Wentian, who was cultivating, suddenly received a voice transmission from Chu Shen. He couldn't help but take out his messaging crystal and ask, "Grandpa Chu, Wentian, not long ago, Qin Jing gathered the experts from the various hegemonic powers in a certain inn. I guess that this gathering is targeted at you. You have to be careful." Chu Shen reminded. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. "They are here?" As expected, the hegemonic powers of the supreme ancient immortal realms naturally wouldn't let this matter rest. "Many thanks, Grandpa Chu." Qin Wenyan spoke with gratitude. "Grandpa Chu, are you and Nikhang coming to the Heaven Vault for cultivation?" Actually, Qin Wenyan had always wanted to say this, but it wasn't convenient for him to do so. Chu Shen was a heavenly deity-level expert and naturally had his own pride. Goddess Nikhang was the #1 beauty of the heaven region. He wanted them to enter the Heaven Vault because he wanted them to avoid the marriage. Although he didn't wish for Goddess Nikhang to be together with him, he didn't have the qualifications to interfere. Also, if he wanted Chu Shen and Goddess Nikhang to hide in the Heaven Vault to avoid the marriage, his reputation wouldn't be too good. This was especially so since there were rumors about him and Goddess Nikhang in the immortal realms. Hence, he had been hesitating. Qin Wenyan naturally understood what Chu Shen was thinking in his heart. If Chu Shen wanted to form a marriage alliance with the Qin clan, why would Chu Shen inform him? Hence, Qin Wenyan took the opportunity to invite Chu Shen. "I'll ask for Nichang's opinion." Chu Shen smiled and replied. After so many years, his pride has long been ground away. Right now, he only hoped that his granddaughter could live a good life. Hence, as long as Nikhang was willing, he wouldn't care about his old face. Hence, he didn't feel anything about Qin Wentian's invitation. He didn't feel that Qin Wentian had seen through him. Chu Shen found Goddess Nikhang. His gaze was gentle as he spoke in a light voice. "Nikhang, Wentian is inviting us to enter the Heaven Vault to cultivate. What do you think?" Goddess Nikhang inclined her head, her beautiful eyes staring at her grandfather. She naturally understood the meaning behind this invitation. After a moment of silence, she seemed to be contemplating. After a long time, she shook her head lightly. "Nikhang, can you tell Grandpa your thoughts?" Chu Shen stared at his granddaughter. He knew that back then when Qin Wenyan brought back his son, his granddaughter's heart had already wavered. Right now, Qin Wenyan issued an invitation. He really didn't know what she was thinking about. "What qualifications do I have to enter the Heaven Vault?" Goddess Nikhang calmly spoke. After that, she turned and spoke, "Grandpa, I'm going to cultivate." Chu Shen started. He stared at the back view of his granddaughter before he bitterly smiled, feeling somewhat speechless. That's right, he could ignore his old face. But his granddaughter had extraordinary talent and was also known as the #1 beauty in the heaven region. She also had her own pride. What qualifications does she have to enter the Heaven Vault? Breaking the engagement and seeking protection from Qin Wenyan? How would the people of the world view her? Qin Wenyan and Goddess Nikhang had no relationship at all. There were only bad rumors circulating around in the immortal realms. In such a situation, Goddess Nikhang actually evaded the marriage and entered the Heaven Vault. It was unknown how many people would slander her reputation. Naturally, maybe Goddess Nikhang didn't care about the words of the people of the world. But what reason does she have to enter the Heaven Vault? Chu Shen had no way to refute that question. Taking out his messaging crystal, Chu Shen directly replied to Qin Wenyan. "Wenyan, Nikhang said what qualifications does she have to enter the Heaven Vault?" Qin Wenyan bitterly smiled when he heard this. This was also the reason why he didn't invite Chu Shen earlier. "Grandpa Chu, if you encounter any trouble, you must remember to tell me." Qin Wenyan spoke. He would always remember the kindness of the Chu clan. "Right." Chu Shen smiled. At the Boundless Sea region, The experts from the various hegemonic powers arrived at the Heaven Vault. Qin Zheng led the Qin clan's experts to suppress the heavenly deity of the Luoshan clan, Luoshan Han, as well as the 10 world overlords of the Luoshan clan. Qin Dangtian also came. His eyes were extremely cold as he stared at the sky. Right now, the grudge between him and Qin Wenyan was no longer a grudge from the previous generations. Back then in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, he couldn't be bothered with Qin Wenyan. But now, he actually dared to challenge the Qin clan. I've already returned your messaging crystal to you. Now, you can inform Luo Shenchuan and tell him to inform Qin Wenyan that we have a replacement. Qin Zheng coldly spoke to Luo Shenhan. He had no way to directly transmit the message to the Heaven Vault. Hence, he needed to inform Luo Shenhan to inform Luo Shenchuan. Luo Shenhan took out his messaging crystal and sent a message to Luo Shenchuan. He had suffered all sorts of humiliation in the Qin clan. Now, he finally saw hope. It was just that he didn't expect that the new clan leader, Luo Shenmu, would abandon him. The person who saved him now was actually Qin Wenyan, who was abandoned by the Luoshan clan. When Qin Zhong went to deal with Qin Wenyan, the Luoshan clan actually watched from the sidelines. This matter was simply shameful when he thought about it now. Luo Shenchuan and Qin Wenyan, who were in the Heaven Vault, soon received the news. They immediately rushed towards the entrance of the Heaven Vault. Naturally, Qin Wenyan, who had already received Chu Shin's warning, knew that this was clearly a plot by Qin Zheng against him. The entrance of the Heaven Vault was completely sealed. However, when Qin Wenyan willed his will, he could see the scene outside the Heaven Vault. In his vision, there were many experts in the sea region, and there were even some familiar faces. These were hegemonic characters from the supreme ancient immortal realms. For example, the Chen-Kuan sect leader and the Nine Heavens mystical maiden. They were simply too outstanding. Qin Wenyan could recognize them with a single glance. With a wave of his divine sense, the scene outside the Heaven Vault transformed into a screen of light, appearing before the eyes of the people around him. Qin Zheng gathered the experts from the various hegemonic powers and brought people here for a trade. Grandfather, they want to act against the Heaven Vault. Qin Wenyan spoke. They have indeed brought Luo Shenhan here, and they came prepared. Wenyan, what do you think we should do? Luo Shenchuan asked. Unknowingly, Qin Wenyan's status in the hearts of everyone had already changed. Right now, even Luo Shenchuan was asking him what they should do. If this was in the past, it would be absolutely impossible. Tell Grandpa Han to tell him to tell Qin Zheng that we will only agree to the trade if there are people from the Qin clan in the Heaven Vault. Qin Wenyan spoke. Luo Shenchuan passed the news to Luo Shenhan and passed it to Qin Zheng. After Qin Zheng learned of Qin Wenyan's words, his expression turned cold as he stared at the space in the air. This fellow was truly cautious. Could it be that he could even see the situation outside the Heaven Vault? Was this a sealed space or not? Chapter 1910. Qin Wenyan wanted the others to leave. Only the experts of the Qin clan could remain in the sea region below the Heaven Vault. If this was the case, it wouldn't be so easy for his plan to succeed. The powers of the sea region come from all directions. How can I control them? Qin Zheng stared at the Heaven Vault as he coldly spoke. Luo Shenhan transmitted his voice to Luo Shenchuan. Since this is the case, let's change the time for the exchange. At that time, I will naturally inform you. Qin Wenyan replied. Luo Shenchuan transmitted his voice to Luo Shenhan. Upon hearing Luo Shenchuan's words, Luo Shenhan sighed in his heart. Could it be that he still wouldn't be able to obtain freedom today? He had to continue waiting. However, after that, Luo Shenchuan transmitted a message over, telling him that as long as the Qin clan dared to do anything to him, they would do the same to Qin Song. Qin Wenyan and Qin Wenyan conversed through space. Qin Zheng's expression grew colder and colder. Seems like Qin Wenyan could tell what was going on. Hence, he rejected the exchange. I can choose not to touch Luo Shenhan. However, there are still experts from the Luoshan clan on the Luoshan mountain. Other than them, how many people from the Qingqing realm and Azure Mystic can you protect? Qin Zheng stood with his hands behind his back as he coldly spoke. wanting to threaten Qin Wenyin. Everyone felt some shock when they heard Qin Zheng's words. Qin Zheng was a heavenly deity, the lofty clan leader of the Qin clan. Given his status, he shouldn't have said such words. Using the lives of ordinary people from the Qingqing realm and Azure Mystic to threaten Qin Wenyin was an extremely despicable method. It was extremely shameful for a heavenly deity to do such a thing. However, Qin Zheng still said such words. From this, one could see his determination. Even if he had to lose face, he still wanted Qin Wenyin to leave the Heaven Vault. Not only did he want to seize the Heaven Vault, he also wanted Qin Wentian's life. Luo Shenhan transmitted his voice. After Qin Wenyin heard Qin Zheng's words, his expression instantly turned ugly to behold. Luo Shenchuan was the same. Qin Zheng, a mighty heavenly deity, actually dared to threaten them like this? Although the Luoshan clan was controlled by Luo Shenmu, Luo Shenchuan still had feelings for them. In the Qingqing realm, although Qin Wenyin has already brought his close friends and family away, the remaining people were all his subordinates, as well as those who had nothing to do with him. But even so, they were still lives. Qin Zheng actually wanted to use the lives of innocent people to threaten him? He could not tolerate Qin Xian. Qin Wenyin felt like he could see back then when the supreme ancient immortal realms invaded ancient Azure Mystic and started a world-ending war. This was the so-called lofty heavenly deity, the Qin clan leader. Also, things were different now. If Qin Zheng really wanted to do such a despicable thing, he had no way to resist. Because right now, Qin Zheng wasn't the only one who wanted to deal with him. The people from the supreme ancient immortal realms were all here, staring at the Heaven Vault. The moment he exited, what awaited him wouldn't be as simple as the Qin clan. The Che clan is the #1 weaponsmith power in the supreme ancient immortal realms, and they are extremely proficient in formations. I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem for the Che clan to inscribe a divine formation in the Heaven Vault. Also, the God Extermination Palace can transform the area outside the Heaven Vault into a poison god realm. Anyone who gets close will die. From now on, as long as someone exits the Heaven Vault, that person would die. Since they don't want to come out, let's see how long they can stay here. Qin Zheng coldly spoke. Clearly, the gathering this time wasn't just to discuss a plan. If the plan failed, they still had other methods. These words soon entered Qin Wentian's ears. His expression grew heavier and heavier, cold to the extreme. They wanted to force him out. They wanted the Che clan to inscribe a divine formation and the God Extermination Palace to create a poison god realm, sealing the Heaven Vault. At the same time, they wanted to deal with the Luoshan clan, Qingqing realm and Azure Mystic outside. By doing so, would Qin Wenyin be able to come out or not? These lofty heavenly deities, in order to deal with Qin Wenyin, were already willing to use all sorts of methods. However, at this moment, no one would blame Qin Zheng. The people from the various hegemonic powers all wanted to enter the Heaven Vault. But to many people, this was merely an extravagant hope. Even if the Heaven Vault opened and was controlled by Qin Zheng and the others, it would belong to the peak powers. They naturally wouldn't allow those weaker powers to enter. In fact, after they gained control of the Heaven Vault, there would surely be internal strife. Within the Heaven Vault, Jian Junlai calmly spoke. I didn't expect Qin Zheng to actually be able to say such words. Although Qin Wenyin was the Qingqing Realm Lord, it could be said that the Qingqing Realm Lord didn't have much of a relationship with him. The people there were merely mortals of his realm, they had no ties with him. Qin Zheng actually used them to threaten Qin Wenyin. From this, one could see how despicable he was. This would definitely cause people to look down on him. But at this moment, no one from the hegemonic powers would blame Qin Zheng. Their calm gazes seemed to be saying that this was how things should be. Since he still refuses to come out, let's invite the Che clan and God Extermination Palace to act. Qin Zheng calmly spoke. Several heavenly deities from the Che clan and God Extermination Palace walked out, exuding terrifying auras. They started to inscribe divine formations at the entrance of the Heaven Vault while the people from the God Extermination Palace created a poison god realm, enveloping the entire space. In the future, if Qin Wenyin wanted to come out or bring people in from the outside, it would be nothing but a fool's dream. The expressions of the people in the heaven vault all changed. This not only affected Qin Wenyan, it affected everyone who was cultivating in the heaven vault. In the future, they would also have to face the divine formations and the God Extermination Palace's Poison God Extermination Palace. This bunch of bastards. The 5 demon sovereigns all had heavy expressions when they saw the scene outside. Demonic chi gushed forth from them. I heard that the 5 demon sovereigns of the Demon God Mountain are all in the heaven vault. If they are willing to act against Qin Wenyan, we might have a chance to capture him. At this moment, the Ox Chieftain of the Divine Ox clan suddenly spoke. The eyes of everyone flashed as they stared at him. Their hearts were as clear as a mirror. Who in the immortal realms didn't know about the conflict between the Divine Ox clan, the Luotian clan and the Demon God Mountain? Right now, the Ox Chieftain was trying to sow discord. Qin Zheng also understood the intentions of the Ox Chieftain, but he still nodded. He then spoke to Luo Shenhan, who was beside him. Tell the 5 demon sovereigns of the Demon God Mountain that the Demon God Mountain is in cahoots with Qin Wenyan and wants to occupy the heaven vault. Do they not want the Demon God Mountain anymore? This sentence was clearly a threat. When the 5 demon sovereigns heard this from Luo Shenchuan, their demonic qi gushed forth frenziedly. Even they were implicated by Qin Zheng? How could this be? There were countless demonic beasts on the Demon God Mountain. It was impossible for the Kuan sovereign to bring all of them here in one go. This batch of demonic cultivators from the Demon God Mountain were all extremely strong and had extremely high talent. However, the Demon God Mountain was still their base. Before this, they weren't afraid of the Divine Ox clan because the 5 demon sovereigns weren't present. If the Divine Ox clan dared to act against the Demon God Mountain, they would naturally be waiting for revenge. But now, the Ox Chieftain of the Divine Ox clan wanted to sow discord, causing Qin Zheng to threaten them. In the outside world, the experts from the Che clan were still inscribing the formation. The heavenly deities of the great Tao worked together to create the divine formation. Gradually, an incomparably resplendent screen of light appeared, locking down the entire space. The multicolored light radiating from the screen seemed to be able to destroy all existences. It felt like as long as the heaven vault opened, the light from the divine formation would be able to enter and kill those who wanted to exit. How terrifying! Everyone inclined their heads and stared at the sky. This divine formation spanned tens of thousands of miles and was parallel to the heavens. The light flowing around the divine formation was so terrifying, exuding a world-destroying might. In addition, the Che clan didn't stop their actions. They were still perfecting the formation. The people they wanted to deal with weren't ordinary characters, they were heavenly deities. Qin Wenyan, Luo Shenchuan and the others were all extremely powerful. The people from the God Extermination Palace weren't idle either. Their poison qi gradually took form, enveloping the heaven vault and completely sealing it. They wanted those who entered the heaven vault to fall into despair. Since they were unwilling to exit, they would make them die the moment they exited the heaven vault. Che clan, God Extermination Palace. Qin Wentian's expression was cold. He personally witnessed everything. He saw the 2 hegemonic powers inscribing the divine formation to create the poison world. He would remember this debt of gratitude. He once said that he would accept anyone who wanted to seize the heaven vault. Now, the Che clan and God Extermination Palace have already responded to the Qin clan and took the initiative to act. In that case, he, Qin Wenyan, would naturally accept it. Elder brother, what should we do now? In the heaven vault, Luo Shenlei asked. The current situation was extremely bad. If the other party only inscribed a divine formation to seal the heaven vault, things would still be fine. But they even used the Luotian clan, Qingqing realm and Azure Mystic to threaten them. In this case, they were in a dilemma. If they wanted to cultivate for many years in the heaven vault before exiting, many people outside would surely die. Since Qin Zheng threw away his face and said such words, he would definitely achieve his goal. If Qin Wenyan didn't appear, he would definitely act. Let's go out. Qin Wenyan spoke. We have to think of a way out. Luo Shenchuan nodded lightly. This was also his thoughts. He couldn't watch on as the Luotian clan was destroyed. As for Qin Wenyan, he was worried about the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Although the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms were still sealed, what if Qin Zheng and the others really went against the rules? After all, this time around, the hegemonic powers of the supreme ancient immortal realms joined forces for the sake of the Heaven Vault. There are so many experts outside. They are all waiting for Elder Brother to exit. Luo Xunlei's beautiful eyes flashed with worry. Should he exit? Why did Qin Zheng give up his face as a heavenly deity and used the lives of innocent people to threaten Qin Wenyan? His purpose was to force Qin Wenyan out. If Qin Wenyan could exit the Heaven Vault, Qin Zheng's goal would have been achieved. Hence, we have to think of a solution. Once we exit the Heaven Vault, we can leave immediately. They won't be able to catch up to us. Qin Wenyan spoke. However, the people outside were all powerful heavenly deities. It was easier said than done if they wanted to do this. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.